1 minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hello, good morning, how you doing? Waking up, shaking yesterday's blues, yeah. Turn the TV off, it's bad news, man. Feeling fresh like a Ziploc new man. OJ with a champagne tuna. Mimosa, Holy Ghost running through ya. Hell yeah, it's a new hallelujah. Popping like the top off a bottle and I ain't stopping yet. Baby, it's a brand new day. Ain't no clouds hanging over me. Something doesn't feel the same. The rest of my life gonna start today. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. The rest of my life gonna start today.
CBS Sports Radio.
Well, as I was saying, when I was listening to the radio, I heard something. And what did you hear? A hissing sound like this.
Hey, T.A. Hey, D.A., let me aboard that mothership.
Permission to board that mothership, sir.
Well, you know I had to slide through the intergalactic swag party. D.A., man, beam me up. What's going on, my brother from another mother? Beam me up. You guys are the best.
Guys, make it permission to board that mothership.
Ship has connected.
And you the man, D.A.
Happy Monday to you, North America. The mothership has connected. Welcome aboard. It's the 4-hour Black Hole Block Party. DA with you from the CBS Sports Radio studios in New York, broadcasting to affiliates nationwide and north of the border. Anchorage to Atlanta, Houston to Harrisburg, Kalamazoo and Waterloo, we are on the air.
They listening, D.A. Everything we saying, D.A. Everything.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this fine Monday morning, everybody. Big show coming up for you this morning. Big show. We are coming to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios when you need certainty in the home buying process. With a loan that fits your life, Rocket can. Lot to get to over the weekend that was in sports. Yes, there was a weekend, and it involved sports. Coming up this morning here on the show, NFLPA getting after the NFL's owners. What's the plan, 32 NFL owners? What's the regulations? What's the safety? Has the NFL, with the benefit, with the gift of months of preparation, botched the whole thing? We'll talk about that coming up 1 hour from now. Also, as Major League Baseball returns, the Blue Jays will not. They are not going to be allowed to play in Canada. And so where will the Blue Jays take roost? Also coming up this morning on the show, the Oakland Raiders have turned into the Las Vegas Raiders, but their owner says he won't be attending any games this year. Also, Freddie Freeman details his scary battle with coronavirus, and the Celtics may be without their star player at 100%. What does that mean? coming up for the return of the reboot of one of the East's best players. All of that coming up on the show. Also, Major League Fishing. Our friends at MLF, have wrapped up their fishing season. So one final spot, one final interview with an angler du jour. It's been so fun to talk to these guys that have competed on the Major League Fishing Tour. Justin Lucas is going to drop on by the show coming up in hour number 3. All of that coming up this morning on the program. And so we begin with, yes, that weekend in sports. Little by little, we're getting it coming back. Little by little, the trickle, the drop of water. We have MLS back. We've had real live soccer games being played here stateside. Of course, we've had the PGA Tour, and we've had NASCAR for months now. Basketball players returning to action. Hockey getting ready to do the same thing. And this weekend, there were actual baseball games being played. Baseball games in baseball ballparks. Across America, we saw our Major League Baseball stadiums hosting real baseball games. And that was a thrill. That was fun. Even though there's no fans in attendance, even though the games didn't matter, we saw the stars, the best in the world, suit up, throw on jerseys, throw on hats, grab a bat, grab a mitt, and play a competitive baseball game. It wasn't all normal, obviously. As I mentioned, no fans allowed inside the stadium. These were exhibition games, spring training, some are calling it summer camp. But it was a game, it was in the ballparks, and it looked like regular baseball. And sometimes that's enough. I think the overwhelming response across America was, wow, it's just good to have baseball back. And part of this is a little disappointing, only from the standpoint that baseball doesn't really deserve to have the benefit of goodwill. They don't get the benefit of doing things the right way, the quick way. Let's face it, they dragged their feet. They battled one another. They came off as unbelievably tone deaf over the course of their negotiations. But at the end of the day this weekend, most people just felt good to have games being played again. The big thing, as I mentioned, no fans. Now, certain teams did certain things. Some did nothing behind home plate. Others put cardboard cutouts of some of their fans behind home plate. And some will put cardboard cutouts of the fans in the outfield or other places where the camera might pick them up. And we also had simulated crowd noise piped into the stadiums, not just the broadcasts. You see, in soccer, we've had some simulated fan reaction, but they've been piped into the broadcast, so the players didn't hear that. In baseball, the players did. Baseball was back, but without fans. Did baseball work without anybody in attendance? It is where we begin. Your cold open.
There is the 1-1. Swung on and hit in the air to deep left. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. A Stantonian home run. Oh, did he lose that to deep left? Wow, what a long home run. I hope we get the distance on that. Giancarlo, no si può stopparlo.
I thought by and large it went really well, and it was easy for us to kind of go through our routine and get our work in. And it was a lot of fun to compete against somebody else, and it felt that way in the dugout.
I don't believe it!
The most amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending.
It's DA's top story.
Here he goes!
It's your cold open.
Hey, the sound of summer includes John Sterling at 900 years old on the Yankees radio network. A Stantonian blast! Here's the thing. It's never going to be perfect without fans. What we're learning is that we actually have a big role in making sports what sports are. The stars are great, the games are great, but without us in attendance, it falls a little flat. And that's nice. It's empowering. It feels good that we matter like that. It's never going to be complete. It's never going to be perfect. But this weekend, yeah, it's fine. And we said this dating back to NASCAR without fans. We talked about this at length when the Bundesliga came back and experimented with piping in crowd noise. We've talked about it with MLS being back. Look, it's fine. It's just fine. You know, for the most part, all we're looking for is the diversion. And that's enough. And this weekend, to flip on TV or to flip on your radio and to have a live game instead of yet another classic, instead of yet another game where you knew the outcome, instead of yet another game from 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, it was just good to have a live baseball game being played. I didn't love the cardboard cutouts, and I think it's because when I saw them, they seemed a little cartoonish. It didn't seem like how fans would be sitting behind home plate. They looked oversized, bigger than a normal fan would be. They looked very cartoonish. And to me, if you're going to do it, at least make it seem just like I'm watching a normal baseball game. Make it look normal. So don't have a scattering of a few fans behind home plate. It should be all of the fans. Don't make them oversized. Make them regular sized. Don't make them looking really creepy or like they have crazy looks on their face. Just make them look normal so I'm not distracted by the fact that you have fake fans behind home plate. It should just let me believe for a moment it is normal. I thought the crowd noise pumped in was fine. You know, that's been one thing that's been a really nice antidote to not having fans in the stands is that when these broadcasts or these stadiums have pumped in artificial crowd noise, they haven't overdone it. It was fine. It didn't sound like Game 7 of the World Series, which it should not have. It should have sounded like an exhibition game that didn't matter, and it did. So I thought this weekend Major League Baseball took a step forward. We got games played, it put people at ease, and it sounded fine. Did it look great? It didn't look great, but it looked fine. And like I've said about MLS playing at practice facilities, I think baseball will benefit from being played in home stadiums. When Stanton hits a home run, or when Aaron Judge hits a home run, or when the Nationals were playing, or the Red Sox were playing, or the Cubs were playing against the White Sox, what we saw this weekend, when you flipped it on, you saw a familiar ballpark. It is so much better than playing at the spring training facilities. So much better. Remember, that was going to be part of the solution, playing in either Arizona or Florida. It is so much better to see these home stadiums. At least it gives a little vision, a little nugget of normalcy. But hey, the games being back, it was fine. It was fine. And right now, being fine is huge. Hit me up on the phones, 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227. Your thoughts on the return of baseball this week and how it looked, how it felt. Or hit me up on Twitter. Follow me and tweet at me there. DA on CBS. Again, DA on CBS. Mraz, what were your overall thoughts of seeing the return of baseball this weekend?
I thought it worked fantastic, I would say. The cardboard cutouts, I agree with you, a little weird, and I think maybe the problem is some of them are way too big where you're getting full body and only the shape of a head, but that's something you have to work on. I think that baseball is absolutely nailing in all the games I caught the game sound. We talked about that in European soccer, the idea that a guy could hit a home run with a low humming crowd noise and you hear the crowd gradually get louder into the roar when a home run is hit, I think is so well done. And really what you realize is you noticeably notice the fans behind the plate and when a ball is hit deep to the outfield. And when the ball is hit deep to the outfield, frankly, I've watched enough baseball games in bad teams and bad stadiums where there's not a lot of seats filled in the outfield anyway. So it's just getting used to what's behind the plate. But the game looked like the game. It felt like baseball. It felt like summer. I mean, me and Danielle went out to dinner on Saturday early, about 5:36. And the people working, the restaurant with the TVs, all of a sudden it was like 6:30 and you heard this, oh, there's a game on tonight. There's a baseball game on tonight. And they were scrambling to remember what channel to find a Yankee-Met game on. And it was like you could tell that excitement and anticipation, even for exhibition baseball, is there. And I for one, loved it. I'm jacked up. Get me to Thursday and Friday. And it's a slight sense, even if it's not normal, of, again, trying to get back to normalcy, and baseball in the summer represents that. I felt that a bit this weekend, and I'm ready for more this week.
Pretty crazy. By the end of the week, we will have real games. 1 of the 60, 2 of the 60 games that actually matter towards the regular season standings. Everybody playing, managers using starters, having to go to the bullpen, and those new funky rules. All of this is now in play by the end of the week, so we have made it. We have made it out of the desert of no baseball, and getting back to having some sporting events is absolutely nice. Now, when we come back, we start the conversation about the NFL and what it would take to get the NFL back, and a creative and unique solution, perhaps, to making the NFL safer. We'll do that as part of Soundcheck. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
CBS presents this program in color.
An educated person can't think he's going to get a recruit by strippers coming in.
They can fire you, but they can't eat you.
And they run through our ass like through a tin horn, man, and we could not stop them.
The audio you need to hear. It's DA's Soundcheck.
Glad you're with us on a fine Monday morning. Remember, you can stream us on your phone using the CBS Sports app, the radio.com app, or Apple Music. We begin with our colleague, Brandon Tierney, BT, right here on CBS Sports Radio, who has a unique idea for the NFL to mitigate their COVID-19 risk.
I really don't know why the NFL wouldn't come up with a model that the XFL had. The XFL had 8 teams, and they had a 9th unaffiliated team, all right? And they had guys that were practicing, that were staying sharp, that were ready in case, and guys got called. The last thing the NFL wants is to have, whether it's week 1 or whether it's week 4, and suddenly, have 37 league-wide COVID tests, and, it really, and maybe a team gets hit harder than others. Maybe it's like 5 players on a team. At least you can't sign 5 guys off the street and expect them to be in any decent shape.
No, or be any good.
Or be any good. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's even worse. And so you're not as talented and you're not in shape. That's definitely not NFL standard. So why not just put the parameters together now and plan on having a 33rd team with no affiliation, pay them taxi squad money, whatever it equates to, and just have 15 guys on offense, couple of skill guys, couple of offensive linemen, quarterback or 2, and a kicker, a punter. Just have a few guys ready working out.
I think that's a good idea. I think it's a really good idea by BT. One thing that the NFL has not done well here is use the head start that they got by not having to play all off season and figure this thing out in the middle of their season. They have not done well with utilizing and maximizing that head start. And we'll talk about this coming up here later on in the show. But this is one of those ideas that they should have had implemented months ago. Okay, if we're going to have a season in the middle of COVID and we have an outbreak on a team or between a couple of teams or in a league, instead of having these teams shut down or scramble the week of or a couple of days before to try to get players signed off the street, as BT said, have an unaffiliated team so at least guys are in shape and they're playing games that you can pluck these free agents from if you need to flesh out your roster. I like that idea a lot by BT. Here is Lakers head coach Frank Vogel. Of course, the Lakers are one of the best teams in the NBA, and upon the restart have some of the best odds at winning the NBA championship. And one of the reasons is because LeBron has been so good this season. Vogel believes his star should be the MVP over Giannis.
What LeBron means to our team, even before the season begins, when the roster is being put together, with the number of guys that are on the Lakers, because LeBron James is here and want to play with him. Nobody impacts winning more than LeBron James. I do believe that he should be the MVP this year. I believe that he should be the MVP, and I believe Anthony Davis should be the Defensive Player of the Year. I hope those awards go to our two players.
Now, those compliments that Vogel's putting out there are for his guys, and that's understandable. That is textbook. Your coach is going to go to bat for his guys. And look, those guys would be deserving of those two honors. Nobody would say, oh my God, that's crazy to say LeBron's the MVP and AD the Defensive Player of the Year. But back to LeBron as the MVP. It really is insane that LeBron does not have more MVP awards. And this goes back to the Michael Jordan corollary, where really Michael should have been the MVP a minimum of, 7 or 8 times? Because in at least 7 or 8 of his seasons, he was the most valuable player in the NBA. If you took Michael Jordan off of the Bulls, the Bulls would be completely different, as we saw what they did in 1994. And then what they were before he came back in 1995. Without Michael Jordan, every year he proved that he was the most valuable player in the NBA. And for LeBron, when you look at it, he's won 4 of these awards, 09, 10, 12, and 13. It is absolute insanity that LeBron has not been named MVP in 7 years. I mean, does that sound right at all? That for the last 7 seasons, somebody has been more valuable than LeBron James to his team's success? I mean, of course not. But what ends up happening with the MVP voting is that you vote for things that are fresh. You vote for guys that are new. You vote with this kind of feeling like, oh, LeBron's already won his MVPs. And LeBron doesn't need more MVPs because once you have 3 or once you have 4, once you have 5, why do you need any more? But if you really were going down the list and saying, well, who's the most valuable player? I mean, look at this. LeBron wins it in 09, 10, 12, and 13. In between, Derrick Rose wins it. And then after LeBron, since 13, KD won it. Steph Curry won it twice. Russell Westbrook won it. James Harden won it. And then Giannis last year. And Giannis will likely win it again this year. I'm sorry. Those guys are great. Those guys are all-stars. Those guys will all be in the Hall of Fame one day, more than likely. But you can't convince me that any of those guys are more valuable to their team's winning than LeBron is or has been to his team's winning, and how much his team has won. And finally, here is Jeff Van Gundy from SiriusXM NBA Radio, who discussed the anonymous snitch line set up for NBA players to tattle on their peers when they see them doing something irresponsible outside the bubble.
The one thing that's a little off-putting for me is the snitch line, especially for minor violations. Why don't we just go up to, if somebody's not wearing a mask, why don't we just go up to him, like the player himself, instead of getting on his cell phone, calling someone to try to track a person down to tell him to put on his mask? Why don't you just go up and say, keep me safe, keep yourself safe? Why do we have to go through a process? Now, if there's a bigger issue, like, guys sneaking off of campus and tunneling their way back under fences and not being detected by the security, I guess you need a process, to do that. But I don't like the idea of just minor infractions. You hop on the phone. What happened to man-to-man communication?
All right, that is your sound check this morning on the show. Yeah, I mean, look, Jeff Van Gundy's theory works in a vacuum. Man-to-man communication, hey, stop putting us at risk. But how awkward are those conversations anyway? I I mean, right now the nation's at war against one another over this. And now you're going to ask everybody to be on the up and up and mature enough to have man-to-man conversations about wearing a mask. I don't even really think that's what this is about, honestly. This is about guys leaving the campus, leaving the bubble, or having people come into the bubble. I mean, let's just call it as it is. There's a big risk here of players getting chicks from outside the bubble to their hotel rooms. Let's face it. A lot of these guys are single. A lot of these guys don't have their wives with them. Some of these guys are married, and some of these guys have families, and those families can be invited inside the bubble. But the NBA's not all married guys. The NBA's a lot of single 20-somethings. And you're not just going to have your girlfriend or the chick you hook up with happen to be inside the bubble for 3 months. And so that is the type of risk that I think the hotline is all about. I mean, people don't want to talk about this, but yes, you shouldn't leave the campus for DoorDash. You shouldn't leave the campus for Uber Eats, okay? You shouldn't be leaving to go outside, to go get food, or to do whatever you want to do to socialize. But how much of this is trying to prevent players from bringing in outside people that aren't tested, that haven't been quarantined, that could pose a health risk? I mean, you've got chicks on Instagram talking about, yeah, I've already got my invite. And they're just NBA groupies. How much of the hotline is about that? I don't really know how much of this is about, hey, this guy's not wearing a mask around. I think most of it is these people are leaving and coming back. And you'd love the idea that security just handles this all, but if security can't catch everything, and the only way that the NBA can play a season is if primarily all of your guys stay healthy, you know, one groupie or one DoorDash guy could blow that whole thing up. It's not the best solution. You'd love everybody to be on their honor system and just not need that, but that's also not the way of the world, unfortunately, and there's so much riding on this. One outbreak could devastate the rest of the season. Standing by with our headline this morning is our dessert coordinator. What better thing to start your morning with than thoughts of cupcakes and jelly beans? Brad Heller has our headline this morning. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, DA. What's going on? This report sponsored by Geico. Geico's introduced the Geico Give Back, a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for current and new customers that lasts your full policy term. Visit geico.com/giveback for info and eligibility. NFL training camps are set to open today for Chiefs and Texans rookies, tomorrow for all other rookies, and the Players Association is still concerned about the health and safety protocols. Several big names, from Patrick Mahomes to Russell Wilson to Drew Brees, tweeted those concerns yesterday, all with the same hashtag, We Want to Play. Brees wrote, if the NFL doesn't do their part to keep players healthy, there was no football in 2020. It's that simple. Get it done. NFL Network says the union still has to approve each team's COVID-19 response plans before more than 20 players can be allowed in a team facility. The Toronto Blue Jays are homeless right now after Canada barred the team from playing its home games in Toronto. Here's manager Charlie Montoyo.
I'm grateful that we were here for these 2 weeks because, as you can see, other teams are having problems. But so I'm glad that going into the season we're healthy. So that's just the best scenario for us going into a season. Where we're going to play, hopefully we'll find out soon.
Yeah, they have to find out soon. The first home game for the Jays is July 29th against the Nationals. It's kind of soon.
They've got like 5 days to figure out where they're going to play their baseball games.
They got to pack up all the equipment. And players got to get their stuff together. So, yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. Buffalo and the spring training facility in Florida have been considered. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says PNC Park is a possibility for at least some games.
Wow.
The Pirates and the Blue Jays are both scheduled for home games on the same day, only 7 times, so not a ton of overlap. Jays pitcher Anthony Bass said the player's preference is a major league ballpark. Real live exhibition baseball yesterday. Got to give just a little bit of stats here. Aaron Judge had 2 home runs. The Yankees had 5 as they beat the Mets 6-0. In the Bronx, Cody Bellinger, a grand slam. He had 5 RBIs. The Dodgers blew out the Diamondbacks 9-2. Golf, Jon Rahm shot a 3 over 75, but at 9 under, he still hangs on to win the Memorial by 3 shots over Ryan Palmer, and the win also gives Rahm the #1 ranking in the world.
It's incredible to be a Spaniard, the second Spaniard to ever do it. I'm getting there's not that many Europeans that have gotten to this spot. It's a pretty unique feeling, so I'm going to enjoy it for a while.
And Seve Ballesteros, the only other Spaniard to reach #1. Tiger Woods shot a 76. He finished 6 over, tied for 40th. DA.
Thank you, Brad. Great job. We'll talk to you next hour. I like Jon Rahm saying we're going to enjoy this for a while. It's so much more refreshing than the damn Patriots. Back to work. Don't miss any days of work. No days off. I always hated no days off. Guys, you just march through the season. It's a long and grueling affair. It takes players. It is exhausting. It takes all types of duress and pressure and stress. You've accomplished it. Now enjoy it. I would have loved to hear at least one of the Patriots say we're going to enjoy this for a while. Instead, it's no days off. We're practicing tomorrow. Like, guys, this is why you won, to enjoy it. If we all just worked incessantly and tried to climb some ladder, whether it's career or this type of project or whatever, and that the moment that you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, you immediately set out for the next endeavor, what is that? What type of life is that? I like hearing Jon Rahm say, I'm going to enjoy this for a while. You should. You accomplished something. Why the hell accomplish anything if you can't actually enjoy it?
Hold on, DA. I do have to let the audience peel back the curtain just a second. Mm-hmm. We've had a nice thread, all of us on the show trying not as much as possible to overlap days off because we want the show to sound like the show. If you're out, me and Bogusch got to be here. If I'm out, Bogusch and you got to be, the whole thing goes on. There was a point in time where me and Bogusch gave you our weeks off here, and you said, wow, you guys are taking full weeks off. And now you're sitting here telling Jon Rahm, I appreciate it. Take some days off. Which way is it?
One thing that I have always told you, all of you guys, since this started, was take days off if you feel like you need to take days off.
Fair.
I have encouraged everybody, mental wellness days, health days, family days, take it off. You should enjoy the spoils of what you have worked so hard for. Now, might there be moments in there, Mraz, where sometimes it feels like you take that to the extreme? Yes, okay. Absolutely. But Jon Rahm has dedicated his life to playing golf. He finally wins this tournament. He finally raises to #1 in the world. Yeah, enjoy it, man. Enjoy it. Why not?
It also should just be noted, and I don't know if you felt this way at all, I just heard Brad give a post-game bite from Jon Rahm from the Memorial, give baseball stats. That, for the first time, felt like a real sports summer update during the pandemic. Like, that is the kind of update we would have heard not during pandemic. That was refreshing, DA, refreshing. A golf winner, your baseball stats, Cody Bellinger hitting a grand slam. That is what we are here for. I loved it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Just hearing Brad Heller utter the words, Aaron Judge with 2 home runs, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, there was baseball. Okay, there are stats. Okay, This is actually a thing that is happening.
Aaron Judge.
It's time to Ask the Pros today as well, where you get to ask a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We'll answer it coming up in hour number 4. Simply tweet at me, DA on CBS. I'll be listening later on in the show. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Guaranteed low prices, excellent customer service at O'Reilly. Better parts, better prices every day. One criticism that I've heard quite a bit the last couple of weeks is that the sports media is too negative, that perhaps the sports media is actually rooting against the return of sports. Is that a thing? We'll discuss coming up here next. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hear the 12 DAs of Christmas as they happen.
So why not just give them nothing then?
$5,000 is nothing to you. What was your last contract? $1.5 million now? $5,000 is a lot of money.
The DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.
$5,000 is a lot of money.
Perez doing his best Mickey Mouse. Doing More, sponsored by the Home Depot. Everything that you need to do projects smarter, faster, and easier. The Home Depot is here to help, but they've got many ways to do it. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. How about Aaron George blasting 2 home runs in the Yankees' 6-0 exhibition shutout win over the Mets yesterday. The Bombers hitting 5 home runs in that game, taking the weekend home-and-home series after one more exhibition game. Today against the Phillies, George and the Yankees are off to Washington for the season opener. Thursday against the world champion Washington Nationals. Yes, baseball's opening day is this week. Yanks and Nats on Thursday. Hurrah! All right. And our toll-free line is 855-212-4227, sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com. And a little reminder that the DA show is available on your smart speakers. So wake up in the morning, get your day started with us. Simply tell your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio and have us on around the house as you get your day going every single morning, 6 until 10 Eastern Time, 3 until 7 Pacific. So I saw this, Mraz, on your Twitter feed, and it's something that I'd like to address because I've heard other people say it as well. Dante Stallworth, former NFL wide receiver, had tweeted, "I want football back just as much as the next human, but I'm truly amazed at the amount of people who completely ignore the science and the current U.S. trends that genuinely believe there will be much football, college or pro, this season." Now, Mraz, you subtweeted him and said, "The pandemic is tragic. However, the doom and gloom portion of the media is really getting out of hand." And I found this interesting because Dante Stallworth is a former player himself. He is not roped into the normal ketchup-stained sports writer who is cynical and pessimistic and has worked at the same job for 25 years, and they've limited the newspaper staff to just that guy and like one other editor, and he has seen his industry or his career go by the wayside and lived his life in press boxes and on the road and away from his wife and eating garbage press box food. You know, there's a lot of cynicism around the sports media because you get into the job because it's what you think is this wonderful outlet as a child to cover sports. And then you get there and it's a business and it's a grind and you're not paid a lot of money and you become cynical. But Dante Stallworth is the opposite. He's a former athlete. He's got plenty of money. And so I found this interesting that you roped him into the normal media doom and gloom. So I'd like to ask you what about Dante Stallworth does that to you?
Well, so I see plenty of Dante Stallworth making appearances on Fox, on FS1, and I really don't think I'm being a jerk when I say this. I view our colleague Tiki Barber now as a member of the media. He's been out of the league for quite some time. He does a radio show with us every day. I view our former colleague Bart Scott the same way. Yes, they offer a different perspective as players, but when you've been out of the game a long time and you get into TV and radio and media and you use your Twitter as an outlet, I am going to view you as sports media. I'm gonna look at you as one of us. I'm not gonna look at you as solely a player. So that is how I view Dante Stallworth when talking that way. Now, he does offer a different perspective. There's no doubt about it. But I don't view him as a player. I view him as sports media because that is how he has been presented, at least in front of my eyes, for the last 5 to 7 years. Okay, that's fair. Now, here's the part of Dante Stallworth's tweet that I think is fair. I think if you really wanted to rip it apart, he says he's amazed at the amount of people who completely ignore the science and the current U.S. trends. And here is, in his defense, I think that there are a lot of people that just simply want sports back for all the reasons that we just listed out in the opening of the segment with the baseball coming back. We want sports back so badly that I think a lot of people are willing to kind of separate sports from real life. And if your restaurants can't open or you're being asked to wear masks or you're asked to do a lot of things that maybe you haven't ever been done before, you might look at sports as that's not part of real life. They just get to play sports. And in some ways, I can understand that. Because, let's just take Florida, for example. There might not be a worse place to be in America right now in terms of catching coronavirus than Florida. And yet, MLS is just playing its games. I mean, yes, we've had some positive tests. 2 teams have had to go home. But by and large, just teams are playing games, quote, as normal. So I wonder if maybe that's what Dante Stallworth is seeing. Fans that are just banging the drum let's get back to sports, because fans might just feel like
It's not real life anyway in these little bubbles.
So I agree with that wholeheartedly. My counterpoint to that would be during the height of the pandemic. Now, if you want to call right now what's going on in Florida, the height of the pandemic, I look at what was going on in New York, New Jersey, and when the country began to shut down, March, April, May. All I know is this. When it came to the NFL, I saw Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott basically having parties and being accused of it. I saw Lamar Jackson throwing passes to Antonio Brown, somebody he doesn't live in a house with. I saw Daniel Jones calling other Giants down to North Carolina to have workouts. I mean, the list goes on and on. Cam Newton working out with Odell Beckham Jr. everywhere you turned. Tom Brady, the face of the NFL, basically thumbing his nose at the idea of the pandemic. So all I know is this. I think, obviously, the pandemic is serious, and I think we should take care of the NFL players. But I don't know, DA. All I saw for the last 4 months, while many of us were taking this very seriously, and we want to talk about people not taking it seriously now, were stars of the NFL not following the same rules we were abiding by and staying home. So, for all those people who want to see football, well, how are we not supposed to expect to see football when for 4 months when we were all home, working from home, doing everything, all we saw were NFL players out and about, working out, having parties, and thumbing their nose at the pandemic. So what, I'm going to feel sorry now?
Totally fair point. Absolutely, totally fair point. The NFL has led us to believe that they're going to play football no matter what. They have led us every step of the way, whether it was the draft, whether it was free agency, whether it was keeping the schedule what it was, releasing the schedule, it was business as usual. And you're absolutely right. The NFL has led us down a path to believe football will be played. And so why wouldn't fans expect it? On whether the media is too negative, here's what I sense. Now, I think for our show, we're all crossing our fingers. We're cautiously optimistic. I think all of us really can't wait for football to be back. Most of us, football's our favorite sport. It's certainly mine, both pro and college. And I can't wait to watch either one of them. I hope I get to watch both. I don't know if we'll get to watch college because there's so many moving parts involved. Right. I think we'll be able to watch the NFL. I think we will get an NFL season. I think what ends up happening, though, is that caution that I'm talking about. I think a lot of sports media members feel like they have been propped up and are being ready to get let down. And the reason is that our industry is so dependent on the games being played, and because the pandemic has happened and they haven't played games, it's wiped out a lot of jobs. I mean, we've seen TV networks, radio networks, newspapers, online editions. Everybody has cleaned jobs out, and I wonder if a lot of these sports media that you hear being negative are almost bracing themselves for, if the game's not played, how many more jobs are lost. Now, does Dante Stallworth get fired? He might not be part of that. But I'm just talking about kind of the reporters that I mentioned before, these kind of lifers that are in sports journalism, these writers that are on Twitter. Don't you feel like some of them are just worried that we're not going to get sports and that might be the end of their jobs?
I do think that's definitely part of it. I also think there's a weird Twitter element to this where I think the very unpopular thing for even as a society is to be positive about this right now, because there is a lot of real stuff that is going on here. People have died. People are still dying. People are on ventilators, ICU units. We know the stories. They're horrible. And I think if you come across as somebody in media that is, full steam ahead positive, you are going to get more backlash than if you're negative. And I do think there's probably that element of people who, I don't want to say they're not saying how they truly believe, but maybe just it's just you throw up your hands and it's easier just to get bogged down in that negative idea, because you're going to get much less backlash during a pandemic if you are being negative, because that's where the trend is for everybody to be.
That's true. And I would say would be an interesting experiment is to take the temperature of people on Twitter about whether they're optimistic, pessimistic, or what have you, and then watch any of the televised sports networks. I'm not talking about cable news. That's its own kind of world. But if you watched NFL Network or watched ESPN or watched CBS Sports Network, my guess is it will be a totally different vibe. I think there are people on sports television that are being cautiously optimistic like we are, wanting it to come back, acting like it's going to come back, but no, it's possible that it won't. And then you flip on Twitter and it's the opposite. People are expecting it not to come back, and they're open about that. I think you're right. You hit on something. Twitter's currency is negativity, and it's that about everything. You are supposed to be negative about everything. People that are positive just kind of get shouted down by everybody that's so negative all the time. which is why, I don't know about you, Twitter's a real bummer. I mean, it's just
terrible.
like every
day it just it makes me so sad and frustrated. It's like, oh man, I got to put the phone down. I go on, I see something, it makes me angry, and I put the phone down, and that's it.
I know.
Even if people are right, it's just so bummer.
Because I mean, we've used this as our jobs, a lifeline to stories and news for so long, and so I'm ready to use that to see what's going on. And then without games or without regular life, everybody's just such a downer that I'm like, okay, all right, I'm about good with this right now. When we come back here on the DA Show, the NFL has a battle on its hands. Has it already dropped the ball? DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We take you to the outer reaches of the galaxy, where sports talk doesn't quite sound like anything on this planet.
Yeah!
Into outer space, where voices echo without making any sense.
Have you been doing right?
It's mornings on the mothership. Which means it's the middle of the night somewhere.
I was just wondering how are the Lakers doing?
Well, the season's over.
So that's what can happen with 2 root beers and 7 Oreo cookies.
You better take your raincoat.
Welcome aboard the mothership.
And we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. When you need certainty in the home buying process with a loan that fits your life, Rocket can. We appreciate you being with us on a fine Monday morning, everybody. We are back and at it for the week, and by the end of the week, we'll have actual regular season baseball games to be played. We saw baseball played over the week in exhibition form, teams against teams, not inter-squad scrimmages, so that's pretty cool. So we're talking about that this morning, that by and large, games without fans in attendance looked and felt okay. They were, quote, fine. In my estimation, they were fine. You'd love to see fans in attendance, but short of that, having players play in real games, some cutouts behind home plate, some cutouts out in the outfield, some piped-in crowd noise, it was fine. It was just good to have competitive baseball back. So we're talking about that this morning. And then also on the NFL, a number of very notable, popular players are very upset at the NFL and its murkiness in terms of safety and security measures for the return of football. You had a number of NFL players take to Twitter over the weekend and blitz the league office and the owners for not having hard, structured safety guidelines for the return of football. Amongst others, Myles Garrett, Jarvis Landry, Todd Gurley, and one of the most popular players in the NFL, Drew Brees. Brees' controversial moment about kneeling for the national anthem a couple of months ago notwithstanding, here is what Brees tweeted, and he is a guy that is highly respected in the NFL and obviously has always been a league guy, a company guy. He's done things the, quote, right way. He has never been a renegade. He's never been a rogue. He's never been a problematic guy. I mean, Drew Brees is as straight-laced as they come. And he tweeted, "We need football. We need sports. We need hope." The NFL's unwillingness to follow the recommendations of their own medical experts will prevent that. If the NFL doesn't do their part to keep players healthy, there is no football in 2020. It's that simple. Get it done at NFL. So those are pretty strong words from Drew Brees. I mean, Todd Gurley, Myles Garrett, Jarvis Landry, good players, but not 40-year-old future Hall of Famers who have won a Super Bowl and have always been company guys. I mean, Drew Brees is the ultimate league company guy, and in this way, he's publicly scolding the NFL and challenging the NFL to get it done or we don't play football. And this is really interesting. It's interesting because very obviously, if all of these players are tweeting about this over the weekend, and Drew Brees is one of those guys, that you have high levels of concern from the Players Association, from the union, that the NFL right now doesn't have clear protocol in place and that they're worried about that very clearly. And if you notice, there's some common themes amongst all the tweets. They all had proper punctuation. They all had proper capitalization. They do not look like Mraz tweets. They all have the same hashtag, we want to play, and they all often have the same terminology. It's that simple. No football if you don't do that. Which tells me the NFLPA put out an email to all of their union members, maybe all of the agents, got to the members, the union members, and they said, here are phrases, cut and paste, use these in your tweet. This is what we're fighting for. And I think they probably realized that over the course of pandemic, players' voices on Twitter, if unified, can get jobs done, can get work done, can get things changed. And so I think that's what they're trying to do here. And look, I don't blame the players for wanting strict safety measures, not at all. I think we could all agree, any of us that are at work or are going to go back to work, quote, as normal, want to make sure our employers are doing right by us. That's totally understandable. And for these athletes whose bodies are worth millions of dollars, it's even more different than us. Their investments in their bodies, that's how they have a career, their health. If you're not healthy, you can't make money. Not in football, not in baseball, not as a professional athlete. So how acute they are to staying safe, I can understand being more acute than a lot of us. Totally get it. But my sense also is the NFL dragged its feet on this because they probably didn't think it was going to still be this bad by this time. And they blew it. And that much is clear right now. It is mid-July. The NFL should not have its players worried about attending and reporting to camp in a couple of weeks. Should not be a dynamic in play. Football was the one league that had the benefit of time. A lot of it. This happens in March. Everything shuts down in March. Sports shuts down in March. Baseball's in spring training. The NBA and NHL are ratcheting up for its postseasons. MLS had started its season. NASCAR had started its season. The PGA Tour had started its season. The only league, the only sport that did not have to scramble in real time was football. This was March. 4 months later, the players are worried that there is not enough detail or structure to the game plan to return. That's football's fault. Football had a chance, unlike the other teams and the other leagues, the other commissioners, to have a 4-month head start. What's this going to look like? And what's worst case scenario? And I don't think they planned for worst case scenario, which is 4 months later, cases spiking. 4 months later, nobody else has many answers. I think the NFL probably figured, this is my guess, in March and in April, when all these other leagues were figuring out, okay, bubble, what do we do? Do we play at home ballparks? Are we isolated? How many teams do we invite back? Is it all of the teams, some of the teams? I think the NFL figured, hey, we'll see how this shakes out. By August and September, trends are going to be going down. We'll have been out over the summer, out over the spring, and we'll have watched the other leagues do this. And we'll figure it out then. And I don't think they figured it to be increasing. And I don't think they figured other leagues to be going, oh, God, is this going to work? How do we do this? What do we do here? And so the NFL really did blow it. And it's not over, obviously. We're still in July. So what you could easily do if you're the NFL is take the player's plan, which is no games in the preseason. You work out only with your teams, and you're working on conditioning and timing. And you're not working on physicality, hard practices, padded practices, or certainly not games against teams. You know, you can limit padded practices if you have them at all and just do conditioning. Now, is that going to lead to bad football come September 10th? Yeah. Yes. Rusty, clunky football, yes. But that's the solution here. And I think the NFL needs to be willing to do this. I think you should scrap the preseason. I talked about this weeks ago. I don't think there's any need for games in the preseason. I think you're just talking about the games that you're going to play, which is ultimately going to be the most risk that the players take. Make sure those games count. Because if you get a 12-game schedule at a 16 played, okay, hopefully there's a postseason. But you just want to make sure that you're not playing 2 games of the preseason that don't matter, that could have been 2 games that counted in the regular season if you're only going to get a finite amount of games. So the NFL blew it. They should have had this all tied up, sewed up. They don't. But there's still time to fix this because it's still only July. And the NFL's been full steam ahead. We're going to play football. We're going to have this schedule. We don't have any plans not to do it. The only thing that they've changed is they've limited no preseason game number 1 and no preseason game number 4. But I do believe we'll have football being played. I just think right now you got to pivot away from trying to play your preseason games. And I would say, Mraz, also that these are effective campaigns run by players when you have collective voices and guys like Drew Brees saying, you've got to fix this or there's not going to be football. That's the type of saber-rattling that usually will get something done because the NFL desperately wants football to be played.
I agree with that. I do think it's effective, but there is another part of my shoulder going, I just saw MLB players doing this. I don't want to hear a fight publicly because
Fair.
ultimately, I know, you know, we all know they're going to get this done. There's too much money at stake involved. These TV contracts, especially for the NFL, are ginormous, that there is no way that the NFL is not going to get this done. Now, you could say, well, unless they feel pressured, they're just going to go about their business, and now they feel pressure, so maybe you do need that. So I kind of go both ways on it, but it does rub me a little bit of the wrong way. And just from the preseason aspect, I don't know why the NFL would put up a fight on this anyway. I mean, maybe the preseason national TV numbers are that high rated, but ultimately the risk reward here, there's other inventory for us as fans. I can't believe I'm even saying that in August. We're going to have the NBA. We're going to have the NHL. We have Major League Baseball games. We have a more packed August than we normally would, that we're not just watching baseball and we're tired of it, so we need to watch the Texans play the Cowboys on ESPN on a Thursday night. So to me, the NFL, we're good. Come back in September. You don't need to put up this big fight about preseason games. As you said, work on timing, have those teams together. Heck, you could even have, kind of like Major League Baseball did, some regionalized scrimmages. I mean, the Giants could play the Jets. The Raiders could play the Cardinals or something like that, but it doesn't have to be this televised big preseason game if you just want to get other teams involved maybe in the 3rd week of preseason or whatever that would be. But we're good. This doesn't need to be a fight the NFL needs to put up with the preseason. Figure out your revenue situation. Get the players what they need. Hopefully give them this honeycomb face mask. And let's everybody be happy. The last thing I want to see as a fan is another public war between players tweeting, owners chirping, and going through what we did with Major League Baseball. Learn from that baseball mistake. Baseball's lucky we were so, tickling for it this weekend because they could have lost a lot of people. Football shouldn't go down that road.
Yeah. It's something nobody wants to hear. Labor negotiations during pandemic. It turned a lot of people off. And, even though a lot of people were happy that baseball was back, it did put a significant dent in PR for baseball. And for the NFL, they would, no matter how much they fight over money, we're always going to be there to watch football. But it is something right now that feels very tone deaf to be doing things like that when so many people are out of work. So I agree with you. Now, I do think that the NFL players don't want probably inter-squad scrimmages as well. I think they probably don't want to be tackling or being tackled by other teams right now. I think they probably want some space and just want to do conditioning and work out themselves and not have to go through games yet. So they probably would push back against that. My only guess on why owners are sticking to the preseason, I think the coaches definitely want it because the coaches know it's going to be really hard to field a team and do your depth chart if you don't actually have a game to base that off of. So I think the coaches are worried about timing and scheme and depth chart and, just scouting. And I guess the NFL owners are going, well, we might not have fans in attendance for this entire season. If we do, it's going to be limited attendance more than likely. To make up for parking and attendance and game day sales, et cetera, luxury suites, we got to try to get money wherever we can. And so holding 2 preseason games that we can televise on your local networks is going to be at least part of our revenue stream. But from a competitive standpoint, it is so unnecessary. Yeah. It is such an unnecessary risk to take because what happens if you play a preseason game and there is an outbreak and that there's a player on the Rams that has it and they play the 49ers, and then both teams have it, and now suddenly you've handicapped both teams. You'd be like, why did we do this over a preseason game? If it's going to happen, at least do it for a game that matters.
Yeah, and look, if you're worried about that lost revenue, here's an idea. You're still filming Hard Knocks, supposedly, with the Chargers and Rams. HBO has those rights, NFL Films, I understand. Let HBO show it first. That usually airs on a Wednesday night or something like that. And rotate for the 5 episodes of Hard Knocks. Give each network one night where it's Friday or Saturday night. It's already been shown on HBO. And let them show that episode instead of a game. Football fans it'll just be like when we tried to watch The Last Dance. If you're that into football and you're not an HBO subscriber, that gives you something to do. That gives more eyeballs. It gives more NFL Films revenue. Get creative. If you don't want to have the other teams, you have your inter-squad scrimmages, because I'm sure you're going to have to do something like that. Treat it like a college football spring game. Throw it on these local TV networks and all those markets as well, whether that's the 3rd week of preseason, red versus blue, whatever, something like that. There's ways, and those people who would be dying to watch meaningless preseason games will still watch those things, and you will still get those numbers if that's what you're worried about for lost revenue. There's other creative ways to do this than stick your feet in the mud and absolutely fight for preseason.
I think those spring-type games, I think those inter-squad scrimmages, I think that'd be a win. I think that absolutely would be something that people would watch. And NFL version of spring football, you could sell it like that. And it's a much better solution than trying to play preseason games in the middle of all of this. But the NFL still has time to figure this thing out. Luckily, it's only July, and we don't have to play real football games until early September. So it's certainly not, this is the end-all, be-all. They got to get it done. Like baseball, the clock was ticking. If they waited any longer, there was not going to be enough time to play any baseball. Football's got the benefit of at least a few weeks to figure this thing out. When we come back, we are stunned to a news. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Grab a surge protector. You're about to be zapped.
Morning, DA. Let me get that beam up, brother.
All right.
You, sir, are notorious for spitting hot fire, and once again, here we are, melting.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
It's a Melt Monday here on the DA Show. Our toll-free line is 855-212-4227, sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. And the DA Show is also available in podcast form. So simply go to your favorite podcast platform and search the DA Show. And there you can get full episodes or the best of every single day. Listen to the DA Show on demand in podcast form, and when you do, rate and review us, helping other folks find our show. Now, before we get to Stun to a News, we have a poll question today. And baseball came back this weekend with teams playing other teams. They were exhibition games. We'll have the first game starting up on Thursday and Friday of this week, actual regular season games. But one thing that people have been noticing that we talked about months ago was that without fans in attendance, what happens to foul balls or home run balls? We brought this up with Albert Pujols is sitting just a few away from 660 which would pass Willie Mays. Willie Mays' famous 660 all-time home runs. And some other notable home run balls could be just lost to history. Who do they go to? Where do they go? They bounce around the ballpark, and foul balls do the same thing, and nobody's there to collect them. Now, I don't know if there's anybody out there that would publicly grovel for the job of collecting foul balls. I'm not sure if there's anybody out there that would say be a former member of the media, the credentialed media, that would be tweeting at the local teams that he or his kids would want to collect the foul balls. Perhaps that's out there, but we're asking you in the wake of that this morning on the poll question, should Major League Baseball hire a few fans to be let into the ballpark to collect the foul balls? Either vote yes, you should hire fans to collect them, or no, adults need a better hobby. So you can go to our poll question at CBS Sports Radio, on Twitter at CBS Sports Radio, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Show. It strikes me that, you know what, this is a job for equipment managers. If we're actually allowing fans to the ballpark, it should be more than 2 or 3 that just run around the ballpark like a bunch of idiots, like a bunch of 4-year-olds in the ball pit at Burger King. You should have, if you're going to have fans of the stands, there should be 2,000 fans of the stands. And then, you know, they can have their sections and they can run around if they want to or something like that. But I would say the idea of hiring, 1 or 2 goobers to just run around the ballpark and collect 19 foul balls probably doesn't make any sense, Mraz.
Yeah, and I would just say this. I don't know where this poll is going to go. I don't know where the public is going to sway on this. But if you are one of these people that votes, yes, they should allow fans in, and you want to be one of these fans, I would argue that you don't, and you never actually cared about the games as a sports fan. You only care about accumulating as much free trash to pile in your house as possible because, nobody needs 19 foul balls when you come home from a baseball game. That's more of an addiction problem. So I think anybody voting yes here, look, I don't want to throw any shade. I think you have an addiction problem. I would question a lot whether you even cook at home. I would question a lot.
That's interesting that you're tying those two together.
Well, because, you're rushing to make sure the concessions are open and all of that other stuff. I would question whether you're somebody who needs to go to a food tasting event. I would even question if there's a new stadium being built in your area, if you're the type of person that needs to go take pictures of a fence around it. These are the kind of things I would expect if you were somebody who votes yes here.
Interesting. Well, there was some conversation on Twitter about what to do this weekend or over the weekend, what to do with the foul balls. Here's one tweet that I saw come across the Twitterverse. I would like to offer my services to the Yankees at the Yankees official account and at the Mets. Oh, this must be somebody in the New York City area.
Yeah, New Yorker.
To be on the game day staff to go pick up foul balls and home run balls. I mean, that has to be a job given the circumstances, right? It's interesting. Looks like the name of this tweeter is Peter Schwartz. Peter Schwartz.
Thanks for listening. The Czech Republic.
Yes, so Peter Schwartz apparently is looking to be part of the, quote, game day staff and offering his services as such. Now, he looks to be balding and have some gray hair, so I think he is an adult. I mean, I think I would argue that he should have a better hobby here, but we'll just see how the poll question goes.
I hope his hip's in good shape.
I mean, just shameless. Just absolutely, unbelievably crass and shameless that he is now tweeting the actual teams saying, I'd sign up. I'd like to offer my services. Dude, don't you have better things to do than be one of 4 goobers running around the ballpark to collect the foul balls?
As players were taking a pay cut, now they're going to hire more staff to collect foul balls.
Unreal. You couldn't make it up. I mean, I guess you could, but you almost couldn't. It's almost like almost like he is cultivating, crafting tweets with the direct knowledge that we will absolutely torch him for it.
Oh, no.
I would like to offer my services to be on the game day staff to pick up foul balls. I mean, that has to be a job given the circumstances, right? I wonder if it would still be an interest of his if they said, yeah, you can collect them, but you can't keep them. You have to deliver them back to this big bucket behind home plate. Would he still be interested in giving his services? Is he looking? And if they said it's free work as well, it's all volunteer.
Absolutely not. You don't have to pay him, but he needs to come home with the 19 balls and get his fix.
Yeah. There's no win there for him unless he actually gets to keep one of them.
Oh, this last 4 months has been free souvenir rehab for certain people in that family.
It's a disgrace. It really is shameless and a disgrace. Standing by with our headline this morning is our friend and dessert coordinator, Brad Heller. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, D.A. Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Donald, just some of the NFL stars to tweet their concerns about the health and safety protocols as training camps are scheduled to open this week. Today, actually, for Texans and Chiefs rookies, the tweets include the hashtag #WeWantToPlay. They were a coordinated effort by the Players Association. Brown Center and NFLPA President J.C. Treader tweeted, "What you're seeing today is our guys standing up for each other and for the work their union leadership has done to keep everyone as safe as possible. The NFL needs to listen to our union and adopt the experts' recommendations." And it seems the league is listening to the union when it comes to preseason games. The players don't want to play any. The NFL has said they wanted to play 2, but now NFL Network says that they're proposing just 1 preseason game for the union to discuss and decide on. Well, it's only exhibition games, but still real live baseball last night, which means we get to hear again from John Sterling.
There's the 1-1. Swung on and hit in the air to deep left. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone. A Stantonian home run. Oh, did he lose that to deep left? Wow, what a long home run. I hope we get the distance on that. Giancarlo, no si può stopparlo.
It was 440-something feet for sure on that Stanton home run. John Sterling.
Oh, and by the way, Stanton in midseason form hits a home run when the team's already up 5-0 in the 7th.
Aaron Judge did the dirty work. He had 2. Gary Sanchez, Luke Voigt. They also went deep. 5 home runs in all for the Yankees. John Sterling, WFAN Yankees.
Giancarlo Stanton's going to hit like 7 home runs in these exhibition games that don't matter when his team is already up. And then the moment that the games actually matter, he's going to start freezing up there.
He'll take a called third strike with the bases loaded.
Thursday, I mark my words, Thursday night he is 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. There is not a doubt in my mind. That is the best first MLB bet you could place. How many hits does Stanton have? Over, under 1.5? Take the way under on Thursday night.
I wish someone would explain it to me.
Do you think that Giancarlo Stanton is loving not having fans there because he doesn't have to worry about booing or pressure on him?
That's the only thing the Yankee Stadium isn't bumping in. They have everybody's walk-up music. They have the crowd noise. I haven't heard one boo when he whiffs yet. If you're going to do this, do it realistically.
Yankees beat the Mets, by the way, 6-0. Cody Bellinger, a grand slam. He had 5 RBIs. Dodgers routed the Diamondbacks 9-2. The Blue Jays, their first home game is a week from Wednesday. They still don't have a home yet. Their players want to play preferably in a major league park. The team's considering Buffalo. The team's considering the spring training site. Although the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says that PNC Park could be a possibility. The Pirates and the Blue Jays only overlap.
Now, my question is, would the Blue Jays perhaps consider, it's a little outside the box, Levittown Little League fields? I know somebody that would be helpful in collecting your foul balls.
That's big.
He is willing to work for the cost of the low price of keeping one of those foul balls, and he will run your grounds crew.
And we know there's plenty of unhealthy food there for Vlad Guerrero Jr. to eat to have his big fat ass continue to grow.
One other note from golf. John Rahm, now number 1 in the world. Even though he shot a 3 over 75, he still won the Memorial 9 under par, a 3-shot win over Ryan Palmer. And now... Woohoo!
doesn't take much to surprise this bouncing baby boy.
This is honestly the most stunned I have ever been on the show to a news.
The DA show is stunned to a news.
Now, D.A. Mraz, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but Marichka Podolko is a news anchor in Ukraine. She worked for the TSN channel in Ukraine.
Okay.
She was going along, doing her newscast as usual, when part of her tooth fell out. She caught it. She reacted so quickly. She caught it, put her hand to her mouth, caught it, and kept on going like nothing happened.
Oh, my.
Hockey player.
Wow.
She posted on Instagram a clip of it and a long post explaining it and said it was probably the most curious experience in her 20 years as a presenter. She said she first broke her tooth 10 years ago when her daughter accidentally hit her in the mouth with a heavy metal alarm clock.
Wow.
But you know what? So maybe she expected this might happen. She's had a lot of work done on the tooth. And literally, I don't know if you've seen the video, but she just reaches her hand up, grabs it, and just keeps on going.
You
Pretty
know,
impressive,
this is often a nightmare for people. I don't know if you've ever had this, but a tooth falling out is a common nightmare. I've had this nightmare as well, and I've got really big teeth to fall out. But if you have tooth falling out, they say it is representative of a fear of death. So people have had this fear before in dreams. But the way she does it, she's just looking into the camera. She's doing a story. She feels the tooth clearly get loose, and she just puts her hand up to her mouth and just quickly takes it out and continues to read. That's a pro's pro right there, Mraz, a real pro's pro.
It is incredible. It's kind of like an Odell Beckham catch she makes there. I'm actually picturing Paul Allen, as you just described that, going, and the tooth is loose down the sideline. But, yeah, I mean, look, she has a job to do, right? We all have jobs to do.
Yeah.
Just like that day that I broke the tip of my finger in the door, I tried to power through and do my job the best I could. She did this way more seamless. I don't know if I spit a tooth out in front of the microphone or anything like that, if I'd be able to grab it and not stop and go, oh my goodness, my tooth fell out. She continues on with the story. And frankly, what you're learning here is that Ukraine has some real professionals when it comes to reporting.
Heller, thank you very much for your Stun to a News service. Now, I would agree that what you're seeing here is a real gamer, she's got the heart of a champion here, but I have to challenge you. If you smash your little pinky in the door and you were crying for the better part of the first hour of the show, I don't think you'd be able to seamlessly grab a tooth that fell out and not make a huge deal out of it.
Well, perhaps, but DA, you do have to realize the finger was a surprise. As Heller said in the story, the tooth seemed to be something she was prepared for. She was hit in the face with an alarm clock 10 years ago, and she felt it getting loose and wiggling. If you are bracing yourself for impact, just like if you fell flat on your face, I think you can handle it more gracefully. This didn't catch her by surprise. So if I knew a tooth was about to come out, I could feel it. Oh, it went out. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to be professional. If it happened during Stun to News, I'd keep rolling.
I'm going to ask you this. With a 6-month-old daughter at home, give me the scenario where your
7 months today, by the way.
7 months, okay, very cool. Taylor hit 7 months today. Give me the scenario where your baby hits you in the face with a metal alarm clock.
The only thing I could envision is she gets to about 6-7 years old. Maybe she really is demanding cereal for dessert or something like that. I'm saying, no, we don't need dessert. You don't need dessert. And then picks up a baseball, throws it through a TV in their bedroom, forces me to have to buy a new TV. Then maybe, because I'm still saying no, takes an alarm clock and smashes me in the face. Other than that, I really can't. I will tell you this, though, and on a serious note, just yesterday, I thought my daughter was going to gouge my eyeball out to the point like I had to grab her very delicately, but that was all accidental. She dug her claws into my eye, and I thought I was losing an eye. I don't know that she'd have the strength to pick up an alarm clock that should be plugged in and smash my face with it.
Right. So either this child has massive anger and violent tendencies, if this child is taking a weapon and smashing you in the face because it's so angry over something, or maybe it's a baby on a changing table, on a bed, on your bed or something, because I couldn't guess that there's a metal alarm clock next to the baby's bed. I don't know if the baby's got to get up for work in the morning. And you're like, coochie, coochie, coo, and it's on your bed, and then the baby just somehow grabs the metal alarm clock and happens to swing it at your face as your face is really close to his or hers.
Kids do grab everything. Like when they learn how to grab, like Taylor is grabbing everything she
Real
can
grabby.
right now.
Yeah, grabby Grabbersons.
Thea, she just started crawling. I kid you not. She came within a foot of trying to find an outlet. Like she was pointing up, and I said, oh boy, I was not prepared for this early. So I know if she's looking to grab stuff like that at 7 months, I don't know how old this person's kid was 10 years ago, but grabbing something at an accidental metal alarm clock swing is not out of the realm of possibility, I could just tell you.
Who's going to be the bigger headache in about 3 months? Is it going to be Taylor at 10 months, or is it going to be Eli?
It's hard. If it's not Eli, I have some extreme problems coming my way.
Okay.
Extreme. There's no doubt. But both of them as a tag team is a disaster right now because now she is learning that he wants her food. She's tossing food down to him. But then they get mad at each other. She grabs his tail. He barks at her. Then he licks her in the face. They're a real problem together, and it's a bad dynamic duo.
It's what the Texans had envisioned when they drafted Jadeveon Clowney to bookend with J.J. Watt. It's two unblockable forces. What do? One or the other. You got to leave somebody open. Eli and Taylor, as she gets older, just unblockable duo.
You're the only time in my life I would ever expect that when Cheerios come out in the house, I will have no say. I know Connor doesn't like them. It's going to go all to Taylor and Eli because she's going to be feeding the dog and not me, and that's going to be a real issue for me.
When we come back here on the show, where will the Blue Jays play? DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Too much fun with audio.
The kid can play. That's all I want to hear. I don't give a rat's rump. The kid can play. I don't give a rat's rump. The kid can play.
The DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.
Yes, those are the sounds of Merrill Hodge, what we think a rat might sound like, and his bouncing baby rump. Glad you're with us on a Monday morning here, everybody. As always, the DA Show is available on your phone. Stream us using the CBS Sports app, the radio.com app, or Apple Music, or watch us at watchda.com and look for the bouncing baby rat. Watchda.com on your phone. Join Michael Breed as he tees off on the top headlines of the world of golf. Watch Course Record with Michael Breed today at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, only on CBS Sports Network. CBS Spectacular, yeah! And our toll-free line is 855-212-4227. Boink. Sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's what's on top of what Geico already saves you. So what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. Boing, 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 boing. Where will the Blue Jays play? That's the question. They will not be playing in Canada. Canada has very strict regulations for people coming in or people being there and people leaving. And so the idea of a bunch of American teams just flying into Toronto to play baseball games over the next couple of weeks, months, is not something Canada wants to take on. They have successfully limited the coronavirus. They have done a great job in making it much safer to be in Canada than it is to be here in the States. And so they just don't want anything messing that up. And hey, hard to blame Canada for putting their foot down and saying we got to be safe above everything else. The reason that hockey is going to work up there is because they are sequestered. They are quarantined there. They are in their bubble. They're going to play two sites, Edmonton and Toronto. And those two cities, NHL cities, all of the players will be staying there, not leaving, and doing kind of a bubble thing like the NBA and MLS is doing. So now the Blue Jays are without a home. Where do they play? They've got to figure this out by the 29th. That's when they have their first home game, a week from Wednesday. So there's a couple of options. Their AAA affiliate is in Buffalo, just across the American-Canadian border. They could play in Buffalo. They could also play at their spring training ballpark in Dunedin, Florida. Those are two options. Other options include other minor league ballparks like Charlotte, who has offered their services, and Charlotte's kind of always wanted a baseball team, a Major League Baseball team. So maybe this is a way, kind of like how San Antonio was the home of the New Orleans Saints because San Antonio was trying to bang the drum for their own NFL team. Charlotte, or some have said Durham, could be a site for them. But to me, none of those sites really make sense. You know, in Buffalo, one of the problems is that the lighting that they use for AAA games is not Major League Baseball standard. So they'd have to bring in ancillary lighting. And even though there's no fans in attendance, so you don't have to worry about the size of the ballpark, the facilities itself is not great in terms of the clubhouse. It's not a Major League Baseball clubhouse. So to me, retrofitting Buffalo, I mean, it's cool for the city of Buffalo, which is a great sports town, one of our best sports towns in America. It'd be cool to have the Blue Jays play in Buffalo, but you got to do a lot of work to a minor league baseball stadium. Playing at a spring training facility, again, it's fine for a month. Is it good for 3 months? I mean, it's a minor league ballpark. You're limited in what you can do there. To me, that doesn't make any sense either. Charlotte and Durham, it'd be cool to have a Major League Baseball team for them. But again, does it make sense to be at a minor league ballpark if you're not going to be at your own minor league ballpark? Another minor league ballpark presents the same problems. To me, the best sense here, the one that makes the most sense, is simply playing at another major league ballpark. And PNC Park in Pittsburgh has been one of the offerings, that there's only 7 or some odd dates that they would cross over. So maybe you could schedule around that, and that basically you use another Major League Baseball park to do it. And to me, that makes the most sense. Look, Toronto to Pittsburgh is not that far. And if you're going to do this, do it at a place that's already churning and turning around Major League Baseball. You have your stadium facilities, you have your lights, you have your clubhouses. You know, we've had Pete Abraham, who covers the Red Sox, say that at Fenway they're using the luxury suites as dressing areas. You've got your luxury suites. You've got your normal facilities and space to do it right. That's how it makes the most sense. And look, playing the Toronto Blue Jays home games in Pittsburgh sounds silly, but it's the best solution out of all of these. It just is. It provides the least resistance here. You just got to schedule around when the Pirates are playing. But picking a Major League ballpark and hosting all the games, Mraz, to me, that's the easiest solution here than trying to retrofit everything else.
Right, and it should be noted, because of the way the schedule's worked out, it all has to be regionalized. So the majority of their games that they're going to have to travel to are New York for the Yankees, Mets, Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore. We know all the cities. Pretty much the only time they have to go south is for the 2 Florida games or Atlanta. So, yeah, I think Pittsburgh fits that mold. It's a little weird that the Pirates, because of them playing in the NL Central, actually play all these Central teams. So you have a little cross between that ballpark and getting East teams and Central teams. But nonetheless, you need to get them, I think, preferably in the Northeast. The whole point of doing this is to limit the amount of travel anyway for Major League Baseball. And if that is the Major League ballpark out of all of these ballparks that might include their own division, that only 7 dates they have to worry about, then to me, what are we doing here? That should be a slam dunk. Find the hotel for these players to stay in Pittsburgh. Let them treat Pittsburgh like a home city, and that's all there is to it. And maybe for those other 7 dates, if you do a day-night thing, maybe if you don't want multiple teams in there, then they just play 7 extra road games. And honestly, you just make them the home team batting last anyway. It's not like you're worried about fans in there or anything like that anyway. To me, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, without fans being in attendance, you could really pick wherever you want to play that makes geographical sense. And pick any of these Major League ballparks that might have, openings or access or the ability to do it. Because all you're doing, as you said, is you're just trying to find a home ballpark that is close enough to all of the teams that they will play. And Pittsburgh, while it's in Pennsylvania and while they reside in the Central, as you said, it's a close enough flight to Philly, to D.C., to New York, to Boston. That's a very short flight. So it geographically makes sense, and it's a baseball stadium. I mean, I don't know how much home field advantage we're going to be dealing with anyway this baseball season. So why not put them in a professional Major League Baseball ballpark that's close enough to where they have to travel to? When we come back here on the show, Mark Davis says he won't be attending any of his Raiders games at his brand new stadium this year. Do we believe him?
You're in a 5-minute break.
The door just totally smashed my finger as I went to get the DA sign.
The door slammed on your finger?
Yeah, I swung it open to get the DA show sign, and it just shut so quick, usually not like it is, and my finger is bleeding, my nail is hanging off, and it's already turning purple.
Did somebody close it on you?
No, Kevin Wall was coming in to ask Billy a question. I don't know. It closed way faster than it usually does, and I went to, I think, push it open for him a sec, and he might have closed it behind me, but my entire tip of my finger is now turning purple and blue, and it's bleeding.
Do you feel like you broke your finger?
It is completely feelingless from my knuckle up. Like, I do not feel a thing, and I want to scream. This is more than a stub toe situation. Like, something happened.
Are you on the verge of tears?
Yes, I am trying to be a man, but I'm going to cry.
You're going to cry? You can cry?
This hurts so bad.
Is it the worst pain you've ever felt?
No, I mean, I've torn ligaments before, but this hurts really bad.
It's that bad?
I feel like I just lost a finger.
It's the top of your pinky?
Literally the top of my pinky, the one that went wee. And you could see, Billy could see, it's already purple. Oh my God, the back end is purple. How do we start Friday like this?
How do you start Friday?
I got a hockey game tomorrow.
What do you mean?
I'm supposed to play in a hockey game. I can't grip anything.
Ice hockey?
No, I'm in a charity game tomorrow.
So, floor hockey?
Yeah, on feet. But this is, dude, I am trying so hard to hide my feelings, but in break, I am going to be screaming out loud in the bathroom and try to pop my finger back in.
So it's dislocated?
I don't know. It's like already bent to the tip. Like something is up, man.
If you were not on the radio right now, would you be crying?
Yes. I would be screaming. I would have already been outside in the front getting fresh air and gasping. I don't handle this pain well.
Well, what can we do to help you along here?
I don't know. Just let's get through this next 8 minutes. Let me get to a break. Let me rub some cold water on this. I see if somebody in sales has a Band-Aid. I got to package something together here.
Will you have to leave the show midway through to go to the hospital?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that the pain subsides and I man up and I can figure this out after work, but this is not a good situation.
Does it still hurt as bad as it did?
It's tingling. Like, it's absolutely tingling. It's tingling. This is more than me falling off a chair and twisting an ankle. There's blood. There's purple. It's bad.
All right. So we will soldier on here on the DA show, but I just want you to know that this is the backdrop with which we start the proceedings on a Friday. This morning on the show, Chris Mannix is going to join us, hour number 3. He works at DAZN, Boxing Insider. We'll ask him about this weekend's Daniel Jacobs and Alvarez fight, Canelo Alvarez. Also, he is an NBA insider, so we'll talk to him about the NBA postseason. This morning also, Steven Strasburg reaches incredible statistical heights, but is it really reflective of his place in Major League Baseball history? Rockets and Warriors tomorrow night, game number 3. Now that Steph Curry is cleared 100% health-wise, can the Rockets beat the Warriors if Curry is 100%? D'Angelo Russell is in some hot water after an idiotic moment at LaGuardia Airport.
45 seconds
remaining. In 15 minutes. And Is Giselle's income keeping the Patriots dynasty together? That's all coming up this morning.
Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
CBS Sports Radio. Live from CBS Radio Studios in New York City, it's the DA Show with your host, Damon Amendolara, featuring producer Mraz and the musical sounds of the Zap Zap Orchestra. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here's DA.
And we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. When you need certainty in the home buying process with a loan that fits your life, Rocket can. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Fine Monday to you. Coming up in about 20 minutes. Justin Lucas, Major League Fishing, MLF, our friends over at MILF. They just wrapped up their season. And so we'll talk to Justin Lucas about his very successful end to the 2020 MLF season. Very cool. Always love to talk to these anglers. They've been such great guests and great interviews over the course of this summer. Also, this date Mothership history coming up in 40 minutes from now. The NFL is now making plans to come back. They're under major scrutiny from their players about what the healthy, safe way to return is. But apart from that, the question is, will we get any fans in attendance? The Baltimore Ravens had talked about having maybe 14 or 15,000 fans. Could we have some NFL stadiums that had a quarter capacity? Perhaps. Be great to have any fans in attendance. But sounds like in Las Vegas, where the Raiders are opening up their brand new stadium, that Mark Davis isn't planning on any fans being in attendance at all this year. And if that's the case, he's not going either. Now, the brand new Allegiant Stadium looks awesome. They got it done on time, on budget. Way to go, Vegas. Gotta love it. And it looks really, really pretty. But Mark Davis told The Athletic, quote, "I won't go if the fans can't go. And the way it looks right now, there won't be any fans at our games. It's all or none for me. Either all the fans are going to be there or none. I can't tell one fan that they can't go to the inaugural home opener in a stadium they helped to build through their personal seat licenses. I won't tell them that they can't go, but the rest of these other people can." In other words, if we have limited attendance, who of your season ticket holders do you tell you can be inside the stadium, but the rest of you cannot? And I appreciate that from Mark Davis. Mark Davis has largely looked like a guy that cuts his own hair with a cereal bowl, eats a lot of paste, and just stares outside the window at the birdies chirping every single day. But if he is the type of guy that says, look, in unison and solidarity, I can't tell anybody that they can't come in while somebody else is allowed to come in, I appreciate that. He said, we're sold out. So we don't have anywhere to put those 8,000 people that might be allowed in. How do you tell fans who get to go to that first game or who doesn't? Who doesn't get to see the Tom Brady game? It's a really tough situation that really can't be blamed on anybody. All our dreams are coming true with the new stadium and a new practice facility, but real life gets in the way sometimes. It's a noble idea to say, I don't want to say one person's allowed in, one person isn't. And he's right. All of these fans paid personal seat licenses, And they helped construct this ballpark. They helped fund making it. So whose personal seat license means more than the next? But I would also say if the Raiders are allowed to have 8,000, 10,000 fans in attendance, I think I'd prefer them having 8 or 10,000 people in attendance rather than 0. I don't know how it looks. We don't know how that looks. I mean, at NASCAR, it was fine having 20, 25,000 people there. But NASCAR is a little different. You don't watch NASCAR for the ambiance of the fans. It's cool to see the infield. It's cool to see everybody tailgating, having a good time, fans of the stands, of the bleachers, what have you. But that's not really why you watch. It doesn't really lend a lot to the atmosphere because you're hearing the roaring of the cars anyway. In football, it's different. Football fans lend a lot to the experience, to the atmosphere. And to me, I'd rather see 8,000 fans inside a 60,000 seat barn than none. Maybe when we watch it, 8,000 does nothing for you. Maybe they're spread out so much, it just looks like, half the medical team is there. I don't know. We've seen scattered fans throughout a ballpark, but they're mostly not even fans. We've seen them be medical personnel or media or the players, and so that doesn't do much for you anyway. But I think I'd rather see 8,000 Raider fans than 0 Raider fans. So my guess is that owners will soften on this. Again, it's a noble idea. If we can't have everybody, we're not going to have anybody. But, Mraz, I believe that if we did get to a point in time this season where the NFL said, or certain states said, okay, you can have 8 or 10,000 or 25% capacity, I think all these owners would take that because at least they get that revenue, and at least I think the television networks would want at least something inside the stadium fan-wise.
So I think the owners obviously would take it because any revenue is any revenue, right? No matter if they have their own personal hot dog concession area, however you're going to space it out. Bottom line is this. You're getting fans in that's bought tickets. That's some extra revenue that they weren't banking on having. That being said, I don't know if I'm being way too hyper-attentive to this, but just on Saturday, I'm sitting outside by myself at Blob's Bar, as you like to call it, and I had NFL Network on, and we rolled back-to-back games, or I rolled back-to-back games, Giants-Bucks this year, and the regular season game Chiefs-Titans. NFL Network played both those games back-to-back. And trying to look out for this kind of stuff, I would say, borderline shocked at how little we actually see fans on an NFL broadcast, EA.
Okay.
Really. And like, if you start watching some of these games on NFL Network, you'll see the actual gameplay shot of that wide field where they're showing, where the first down marker it is, you're never seeing fans. Where you're seeing fans is after a big play when the camera pans to, the dog pound going nuts or something like that, or as it play heads to the end zone maybe, and you're just in that red zone, perfect camera shot behind the quarterback where you see fans getting up chanting defense or something like that. But I will tell you that you obviously hear the crowd and you have the energy, but if we are getting in the pumped-in crowd noise and pumped-in energy like we're seeing with the other sports, visually on TV, the fans do not play that big a role in football games, and I only just noticed this on Saturday.
That's probably a good observation because when you think about some of these lower-tier bowl games that have almost nobody in attendance, you oftentimes don't notice it because they crop it out of the shot. You only notice it if they ever do a blimp shot, they do the wide shot out of the end zone coming back from break, or something like that. But when there's 4,000 people at the Boca Raton Bowl, you don't really sense that as you're watching the game itself.
And let's not forget, DA, the areas that you might see where they try to pan to those crowd shots, they've already been sold off for advertising to have a tarp around them anyway. So even if you're letting the 8,000 to 10,000 fans and scattering them wherever, I don't know. I really don't know how much of that you're getting on TV. And if you do one pan shot after a touchdown of 4 fans sitting in the corner of Section 333, is that going to do that much more for you from a television point of view?
Maybe
Probably not. So I think the 8,000 to 10,000 fans is something the owners would just sign up for just because no matter what, it's revenue they probably weren't banking on right now. But from a TV perspective, I think it does nothing at all.
I have to say, I don't believe Mark Davis here that he will not attend any games this year. If they say no fans are allowed in, you're going to tell me he's going to go through an entire football season in a brand new city with a brand new gleaming palace playing football games, one of which being the Buccaneers and Tom Brady coming in on a prime time, and he's not going to be there. I have a hard time believing. It sounds good right now. I'm calling BS on this. There is no way Mark Davis isn't going to be at least at one football game this year.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody told him he had to say this, right? So he says it, and it sounds great, and it sounds like he's the ultimate, man's man for the people, and I think that's good for him, a little restart in Vegas. But if he goes to these games or goes to a game, we're going to get a shot of him in whatever suite he had. Of course, the TV cameras will show him, Mark Davis is here. So we're going to know he lied. There's no way he could go and not be shown. So either he's going to be proven that he shouldn't have said this, or he's sticking to his word. And if he does stick to his word, and again, I'm with you on this and think he won't, I think this might be the most admirable thing we've seen from Mark Davis in the last 15 years. Instead of looking like a doofus, it shows he actually does care and wants to relate to the fans.
Oh, it would be the biggest credibility that he could ever have had. I mean, he has looked like a complete bozo as long as he's been in the public eye. So, yeah, this would be huge credibility. But come on. I mean, Patrick Mahomes comes in on a Sunday night to play the Raiders at their brand new Gleaming Palace, and Mark Davis is going to decide to watch from his hotel room? I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Well, and also, let me paint the picture here. Let's say the Raiders have this incredible season. John Gruden's coaching the heck out of the team. They're good. They're really good. Chiefs stumble a little bit. Super Bowl hangover. The Raiders suddenly are playing for the division in December. Let's say we've made strides of positivity towards vaccines and stuff, and we feel like, maybe the postseason there might be some fans in attendance. He's not going to jump in for like a win-and-in playoff situation when he's the only person in the stadium in a December game of Vegas. I find that very hard to believe if circumstances change.
No way. Now, on Friday, we learned that Danica and Aaron Rodgers had broken up, and since I was off, Mraz and Bogish had co-hosted, and they brought this up. And when I joined them in the 8 o'clock hour Eastern time, and we talked about this on Friday's show about whose fault it was that Rodgers and Danica broke up. And I said, we should go to the videotape. Let's bring back the audio of Danica on the show. She was on earlier during pandemic, and she was promoting, I think, CBD oil or something like this. And I asked her about being the girlfriend of Aaron Rodgers. And so we have this audio. We've dug this up. Let's hear what Danica said when she was on the show in regards to their relationship.
I crave information. I'm so curious. I ask so many questions, and I have so much air in me to just talk, and, talk about all kinds of bizarre things about the world and perspectives and what we're here for. And he has, the intellect to support that for sure. And he's also interested. But then, he also reminds me to slow down and to just relax and to not always there doesn't always need to be conversation or stimulation. It can just be watching TV. It can just be sitting and, sitting outside and enjoying the sunshine. So I think we balance each other out really well. But we both have a pretty high interest for conversation, for growing and learning. We both really like learning. So I think we suit each other well.
Okay, now this is a couple of months ago. We suit each other well. A couple months later, they're on the outs. That's interesting. Something desperately changed. Number two, here she is saying, you were blaming it on Aaron Rodgers. Here she is saying, I crave stimulation. I want to talk. Sometimes he tells me to chill out. Let's watch TV. Wow. I don't know. Seems to me that you've pointed the finger at the wrong person here and why they broke up. It might be it was Danica's fault and not Aaron Rodgers, and you just don't like Aaron Rodgers because he said, get away from me, buddy.
No, she further validated what I said there. Number one, I learned a long time ago, DA, and kudos to the Bourbon Bell if she didn't teach you this lesson, because then she's a saint. You never tell a woman to relax. You never tell a woman to relax if she's high-strung. And she's admitting that Aaron Rodgers is telling her to relax. And also,
RELAX, right, just like he told Packer fans.
Yeah. You don't tell women to relax. So he made a colossal mistake there. Also, what I garnered from that was she was bored to tears hanging out with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the intellectual conversation. We're always trying to learn. Oh, yeah, sit down and watch TV. Okay, Rodgers wants to watch another one of his bad TV shows again.
She just painted the picture that Aaron Rodgers is the most boring person on earth to date, and she just wanted to have some fun.
Have some fun by what? Talking about philosophy? Talking about...
Did you hear there we go to the movies, we play mini golf, we go go-karting, or did you hear we just talk intellectually and then he tells me to relax? I didn't hear anything about, we love our in-ground pool, we love doing this. There was no good times to be had there. It was all, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch Orange is the New Black, we're going to burn through Netflix. No, I know you want to have a high-energy conversation, but just relax, and that's it. Aaron Rodgers sounds like the most boring person on earth to spend time with.
Maybe Danica is exhausting, and maybe he just couldn't take it anymore.
She might be. She might be. She might be exhausting. That being said, Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like a yin to a yang there. He seems like the ultimate boredom person. He's a bozo. He's a boredom bozo.
He's a boredom bozo.
That's the way I look at it. Mr. Cool Quarterback. I'm going to grow my mustache. I'm going to do my discount double check. I'm going to have a couple beers in Scottsdale. Ooh. Meanwhile, he's home and he's pathetic and he just wants to binge watch Netflix and have stupid conversations about philosophy and history.
Boredom bozo.
Boredom bozo. That's who Aaron Rodgers is.
One thing I can tell you is this. Pandemic is not good for relationships, and this is yet another victim of this. Pandemic claims yet another relationship. Earlier in the relationship or earlier in pandemic, she tells us we're perfectly suited for one another. Doesn't sound like right there she's getting ready to break up. And then, boom, it happens. The issue is we as human beings are not meant to be trapped in the same cave as our significant other for months on end. We're supposed to go out and hunt, go out and gather, go out and graze, go out and travel. We're supposed to hunt with other buffalo people, other cavemen, create fire, invent the wheel. We're supposed to do these things. And instead, quarantine has made us trapped with our cavemen or cavewoman for months on end. And this is a problem, Mraz. It's going to drive people insane. It's going to lead to divorce. It's going to lead to breakups. It's going to lead to a lot of problems in relationships.
My cousin already broke off his engagement during pandemic. No wedding coming up for Zach. No wedding. It's off. We're never going to see Nicole again.
Didn't he get engaged during pandemic?
No, he got engaged in December, right before Christmas. Everything was so happy. We were planning the wedding. It was next December. Oh, this, that, the other thing. Where's the bachelor party going to be? Boom, finished during pandemic. Couldn't stand each other. That's it. This is what it's done. DA, as men, we didn't even have sports to distract us during pandemic.
It's totally true.
It was brutal. If you walk out of here still married, and I think so far me and you are going to make it. We can see the finish line. We might make it.
Depends on how long pandemic goes.
I think we're heroes. I really do. I think we're heroes.
Really, when you think about this, if you're a guy or a gal and you're going to work, there's a commute in there, there's games in there, there's sports in there, there's school to take the kids, there's a weekend here, weekend there where you're focusing on cutting the lawn or cleaning the pool or doing this or fixing the car or doing something. You can distract yourself from the things that really make you miserable. But in pandemic, there's nothing. You got nothing but silence. You got nothing but staring at all the things that you hate right in the face every single day. Right. You can't escape it. And so it's leading to a lot of people breaking up.
You couldn't even walk around a store. You couldn't just say, I'm grabbing a beer with my friend just to decompress. Yeah. It was you and your significant other, and you were locked down, and you better find something to talk about, something to entertain each other with, and everything is going to annoy the living you-know-what out of you. That is what pandemic was.
Pre-pandemic, you know what? You're frustrated. You want to blow off some steam. You came back from work. The kids are going crazy. You just don't want to be there. I'm going to the bar to watch the game. You can't do either one of those right now.
Oh,
it's brutal.
I hit week 6, and I would wake up in the morning, and my initial reaction wouldn't be love you. It would be, ugh. So I'm sure how many men would have the same reaction.
When we come back here on the show, Major League Fishing wraps up its season. Justin Lucas just won the Bass Pro Tour Stage 5. We'll talk to Justin coming up here next. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good value, big upside.
Good morning, buddy. I love your show, man. I'm happy for you. I couldn't be more happy for you, man. Couldn't be more happier. I just like you in general, man, and I follow you on Twitter. I just couldn't be more happier for you, man. There's a lot of people out there that just can't accept facts. People like you that give it to them that just couldn't be more happier for you.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
Thanks for being so happy for me. DA, Damon Amendolara here on CBS Sports Radio. An emotional win for Justin Lucas on the MLF Tour, Major League Fishing. We'll talk to Justin coming up in mere moments. But first, Brad Heller has our headlines.
All right, DA, this report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if they can save hundreds on your car insurance. NFL training camps set to open today for Chiefs and Texans rookies, tomorrow for all other rookies, and the Players Association is still concerned about the health and safety protocols. A bunch of players tweeted those concerns yesterday, all with the same hashtag, we want to play. NFL Network says the union still has to approve each team's COVID-19 response plans before more than 20 players can be allowed in the facility at a time. Also, NFL Network says the league is proposing one preseason game instead of two. The players have said they don't want any. The latest on the Blue Jays' search for a home park since they can't play in Canada. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is reporting that PNC Park could be a possibility. The Jays and the Pirates don't overlap that much in terms of their home schedule. Jays pitcher Anthony Bass has said the player's preference is to play in a major league park. Buffalo, the site of their AAA team, and also the spring training facility in Florida have both been considered. In exhibition action last night, Cody Bellinger, a grand slam, 5 RBIs. The Dodgers routed the Diamondbacks. Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs as the Yankees blanked the Mets. In golf, John Rahm, a 3 over 75, but still finished at 9 under to win the Memorial by 3 shots over Ryan Palmer, and he takes over the #1 ranking in the world. DA.
Appreciate it, Brad. Great job. We'll talk to you next hour. Major League Fishing wrapped up its season this past week. And an emotional win for Justin Lucas. His first major win in 4 years. And he joins us this morning here on the show. Justin, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. What's going on?
Not much, bud. Appreciate you joining us. And yeah, as I mentioned, this was an emotional victory for you. What made it so emotional? What got the juices flowing so much this week?
It really was, man. I got chills thinking about it right now. Just a quick backstory. I'm 34 years old. I grew up in Northern California. I packed my stuff up when I was 23, moved to Alabama to chase a dream to become a professional fisherman. And everything, has worked out over the course of my career. And I got my first win as a pro in 2015. So 5 years ago, I was 29 years old. I actually won that back in California. But, I've only had one other win and a points championship title in between now and that first one. So that tells you how hard it is to win in our sport. Unlike golf, we don't have, 40, 45 events a year with just a small break. This year, we've actually only got 5 Bass Pro Tour Major League Fishing events. So we don't get many chances to get our licks in, and we put a lot of time in on the water, all these different lakes across the country and rivers. And when you get one, it's just an unbelievable feeling, man. It's not about the money, it's about the trophy, and it's about proving to yourself that you can do it, So it's amazing.
And this win for you is down to the wire. It has this great frantic pace, Major League Fishing, because it's a catch, it's release, it's weighed on the boat. And so it's just kind of this frantic pace at the end. And as you were coming to the conclusion of the stage 5, it was kind of a race against the clock. How much does that also factor into the adrenaline rush?
Yeah, so for Major League Fishing, one thing that makes us so cool and what I really feel like brings it to a true professional sport is we have a boat official. So we've got a referee on the boat making the calls and calling the weight on the fish and penalties if there are any. And, they're also telling you the clock. They're counting it down for you, and they're telling you where your competitors are at. So you know everything that's going on at all times. We're like in the old days in bass tournaments. You wouldn't know until everything was over. You go back to a stage and weigh them in. But the climax has kind of already happened. And so you're catching everything out there on the water, getting the guy's emotions. And as he's counting down, I know I've got a good lead, man. I'm like, geez, just don't let this guy catch 2 fish in the last 5 minutes, because I had about a 7 or 8 pound lead. And we were catching the crap out of him. I caught 38 fish, dude, in 7.5 hours.
That's
so
incredible.
We were catching a lot of fish. I actually broke the day one, the record in one day. I had 50 fish for 141 pounds the first day of the tournament. And that's going to be a record that's going to be, I'm really proud of it. It's going to be really tough for somebody to break that one, just because I know how hard it was for me to do, and I felt like I couldn't do it any better than that, So you got to hit a fishery at the right time, too. There's got to be big fish and a lot of them biting. Everything has to line up perfectly for that to happen.
No doubt. Justin Lucas broke 2 MLF records, Major League Fishing records, most weight in a single day, as he mentioned, most weight in a 2-day round as well. So tell me about moving when you were young and chasing the dream of becoming a professional fisherman. You said you drove, you put all your stuff in a car, you hauled yourself out to Alabama. How many people before you did that, or when you did that, told you were crazy?
Well, certainly all my friends told me I was crazy. All my buddies in Northern California. There was a couple other fishermen. One specifically, he's one of the best fishermen that's ever lived, Aaron Martins. He did it. He's about maybe 12 or 13 years older than me. So I kind of grew up watching him. He was definitely my idol in fishing, and watching him and learning from his ways. But, I wasn't married, no kids at the time when I did it. Of course, people always say, is your wife from California? I'm like, there's no way that would have worked, bringing a California girl to Alabama and expecting that to work out. So I got married, and, I got a little boy here now, and I'm here for the long haul. I love living here. The thing about bass fishing is it's East Coast related, and Southern related. So most of our tournaments are Texas to the East Coast, Minnesota to the East Coast. If you draw that line, very rarely do we get out west. I wish we did more, but everything happens out here, so I wanted to be in the heart of where it was all happening. And yeah, man, it's crazy. I look back on everything, and everything's worked out, and now I'm just kind of soaking this one up, but I'll be ready for another win here soon.
When I left my house, I was living at home for a year after college. I couldn't get a job. I finally landed a job, and I grew up in New York, in Florida. And I just packed up my car, and I just said, I'm going to chase this job. And I didn't know if I was going to get it. I didn't know if I was going to stay there. I didn't know what it was going to pay, really, but I just had to go out and get it. And I think back and say, boy, I'm surprised I wasn't more scared. But I really wasn't scared. I was really enthusiastic and excited to go try it. And maybe it's because the ignorance of youth. I was 22 years old, 23 years old, and just said, I'm chasing this. I wonder the same thing about you. When you pack up that car and drive from California to Alabama, is there a part of you that's scared that it won't work, or you just go, man, I'm chasing this. I don't care what happens?
Yeah, man, there is literally no fear of it not working. It was, I didn't have the responsibility, so I wasn't married and no kids, so it was easy for me to do it and just think, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'll go back. But in my mind, that's really cool to hear your story like that, because those line up pretty similar. We just took different routes. You're not a professional fisherman, but I am, and you just got to do it. And I don't ever regret anything I did. I look back on it, and I'm like, if I could do it all over again, I'd do it the same way. And I moved into pretty much a guy's basement, paying $200 when I first moved to Alabama, just trying to get myself situated. And I moved after that up to Lake Gunnersville, which is just a world-famous bass lake, and that's where I've lived ever since. And, yeah, man, I don't plan on moving. And I don't want to pack everything up and move across the country again.
Was it ever harder than you would have thought when you got into the game? As you just said, what you just set with that record is an amazing challenge because you know how hard it is. Was it harder than you would have thought at times?
It was. I always knew, I always felt like I was going to win. I had a lot of success as an amateur. So I knew I could win as an amateur, and I felt like that would, that would relay over into the pro side of professional fishing. Eventually, it took longer. I started in 2010 and didn't win my first tournament till 2015. And then I won another one in 16. I won a points championship, which is really the hardest thing to win in our sport. I never won a tournament that year, but I had the best average overall. I think I averaged 15th place that year. So I got that in 2018. And then, I made a switch a couple of years ago to Major League Fishing just because of the direction that they were headed with the sport. I really wanted to be there, and I really feel like it's a place to bring bass fishing to a, really big, grand audience. And anyway, it's been a little bit of a struggle for me the last year and a half. I've had some decent tournaments, but I've had some where I got my butt kicked too. And my brother's on the Corn Ferry Tour, so not the PGA Tour, but the tour below. And we talk a lot about golf and fishing and, their similarities. And I told him, he's been struggling a little bit over there. And I said, dude, you can't go out there and do it for anybody except yourself. And midway this year, I got back to telling myself that, hey, I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to cash a check. I'm not trying to do any of this for anybody except myself, just to prove it that I can do it to myself again. And my last 3 finishes, I had a 4th and a 35th, which is cashing a check, and then this win. So things really got turned around, headed in the right direction. It's a big momentum sport. You gotta have a lot of confidence to go out there and catch as many fish as we do in a day.
Justin Lucas joins us from Major League Fishing. He crushed it at the end of the season, setting a couple of records as well. Won the Bass Pro Tour Covercraft Stage 5. And so he's joining us this morning on the show. And I think people watch fishing and they think it's just kind of a hobby or a sport, or a hobby that has turned into a sport for a lot of you guys. But what you're talking about is confidence and mentally being there. What's the mental strain and the questioning and the, as you said, kind of self-analysis? How much of that is part of your sport?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of it. It's so much like golf. We compare them all the time, my brother and I love watching golf. It's actually my favorite sport to watch, even over fishing, just because I can take things from them mentally, when they hit a bad shot. And it's the same thing. We might go through a hour-long or hour-and-a-half-long period and not catch a fish. And our boat official's sitting there telling us, hey, you've fallen to 27th. Now you're in 38th, and they're sitting there telling you you're falling down the leaderboard and how much time you've got. And that's what we really needed to bring, fishing to a professional level was a referee and also a clock, and knowing where your competition is at all times. That's what really gives it that true sport feeling. And no hate on the PGA Tour, but I was watching John Rahm yesterday, and I'm like, dang, dude, I think Major League Fishing's more exciting than this right now. They need to mic those guys up or something, man. They need to do something. Without the fans there, you got to hear what's going through those guys' minds. And that's what's amazing about fishing is it's not a spectator sport, but Major League Fishing has made it one with, we have so many cameras out there on the water catching all the action, and everybody's mic'd up. So you hear everything that's going through this guy's mind, throughout the day, the process of should I stay, should I go, should I change my bait, sitting there losing his mind because he can't figure out how to get a 4-pound fish to bite. And it's such a hard thing to do. It's easy to go out there and just fun fish and catch a few, but when they put a clock on you and they tell you where your competition's at and you're trying to feed your family doing it, it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin Lucas, 71 smallmouth over a 2-day round. That's a fish every 12 minutes.
You need to come fishing with me. I need to take you fishing.
Dude, I'm actually really geeked that you said that, because I was actually going to follow you on Twitter after this interview and DM you to ask some tips about fishing, because I would love to. I'm just an amateur angler, and I just do it, on the side. I'm no good at it, but I love doing it. So I'm going to have to hit you up, and we got to go out.
Listen, you're welcome in my boat anytime. I'd love to have you. It's always cool to be able to show someone, exactly what we do that appreciates sport, because a lot of people look at fishing and they're like, how is this a sport? You come fishing with me, and I promise you're going to go back to your show, and you're going to say, I went fishing with Justin Lucas. Let me tell you guys, fishing is a sport, 100%. So,
Justin, if you've ever sat out in a lake with my dad and my brother, and we spent 7 hours out there and didn't hit anything, didn't get a bite, then watching what you guys do, 71 smallmouth in 7 hours or whatever, that is a sport. You realize really quickly if you're that effective at that, then it's absolutely a sport.
I hear you.
Well, congratulations on a wonderful end of the season. So cool to see you get this momentum going into the off season. And absolutely, I'll hit you up, and we'll have to go out and dunk some worms here soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You got it, bud. Justin Lucas joining us this morning here on the show. Great stuff. And Major League Fishing, just as a little pop for them, the story, the background here is that when pandemic set in back in March, it was this kind of glaring, what do we do? College basketball shut down, the NBA shut down, NHL shut down, Major League Baseball shut down, and we were staring into this abyss of what do we do every day, and what is there going to be to talk about? And so, we went into real brainstorming mode. Okay, do we do this? How do we do that? This is where the ideas of this date in Mothership history came in. This is where Forgotten Classics came in. Mothership at the Movies came in. What do we do to fill 4 hours entertainingly? Because, that is our job at the end of the day. I don't want to bore you to tears. I don't want to just be on the air for 4 hours. I want to do a good show for 4 hours. And Major League Fishing reached out and said, hey, just so you know, we heard you talking about no sports. Just so you know, we're still competing. They had listened to the show. They had said, if you are looking for something to talk about, we still have events going on during this because we can social distance out of the lake, out of the water, and we still have events. And so it started as, okay, well, we can kind of watch the event on a weekend or during the week and then talk about it during the show a little bit and have some fun with it. And then it was, well, how about we have one of the fishers on? Why don't we have one of the anglers on? One of these guys that do it. And that started to spiral into a really fun series where MLF put us in contact with their anglers and helped set us up with the guys that had interesting stories every week. And let me tell you, inadvertently, this became one of my favorite ongoing series I've ever done in 20 years of doing sports talk. And there's a very obvious reason. These guys are regular guys that are in a highly competitive situation. And so it's not your NBA players, NFL players, professional athletes, Major League Baseball players that have been kind of groomed to be athletes and are crushed with media responsibilities and are just looking for a breather. And when they do an interview, or oftentimes, let me get this over with. These are normal people that this is their job, and it's a wildly fascinating job, and it has given us all types of unbelievable backstories. I mean, all these anglers have just been fun to talk to. They're just good talkers. They tell good stories. They've got a great background. It's just fun. Now, I love fishing. I really enjoy the sport itself and the hobby, really, not as a sport, but I just enjoy the hobby of it. But these guys have just been really interesting and great talkers and great storytellers. And one of the things that I realized when we first started doing it was I said, well, maybe this works because our listeners know that we can be a little quirky, a little creative, and it'll work from that standpoint. What I didn't realize was we just had a lot of people that liked fishing, just a lot of listeners that go out on the weekend and fish and loved these guys and their stories and just love the background on them. And so it just worked so well. And I thank Major League Fishing for listening to the show, understanding the show, and then coming to us and saying, hey, this might work for you guys. And then great follow through. I mean, sometimes PR departments just kind of fizzle away. They don't follow up. They've got other things going on. And MLF has been just fantastic. So all these anglers have been great. And, Justin Luke is just one of those really cool storytellers and talkers and competitors, which I've really, really enjoyed. So what a fun season it has been. We started it back in March, followed right through until July. And when they start up again, hopefully we can continue this series because I've just had a great time talking to these guys and listening to them. When we come back here on the show, we have got this date in Mothership history. TDIMH. Mraz, MLB, and those who complain about travel. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Come on, step inside. It's this date in Mothership history.
1 year ago on July the 20th, 2019, Mraz started trashing baseball players who complained about their travel. Here's the clip. Do we, though, have to criticize Josh Reddick, amongst others, for baseball players griping about travel here, Mraz? I mean, they do get to fly charter.
I mean, geez, it's not as if they're sitting middle, coach, Spirit, they're Cam Newton begging for extra leg room. These guys are flying in lay-down seats with as much peanut butter M&Ms as they want, as much, little liquor that they don't have to pay for as they want to put them to sleep. You board a plane at 2 in the morning. It's not exactly like us where we have the crying baby next to us or the guy reclined all the way in our lap. These guys are basically sleeping in hotel rooms above the sky until they land. And not to mention you're getting paid how much money to stand half the game in the outfield with no balls hit to you. I don't want to hear it that this is suddenly some kind of hardship on you that you've landed and you got to turn around and play quickly.
No security either. When you fly charter, how about this? This is a reality none of us will ever know how great it is. They don't go through the terminal. They just pull the team bus up on the tarmac and just board the plane. They don't go through security. There is no TSA. There's no boarding process. They don't even have to go inside the terminal. They just have a bus pull up on the tarmac and they walk onto a flight.
Yeah, they're not in the Hudson News comparing water bottle prices. That's not what happens here. Somebody carries their luggage for them, their bag. They get on the plane. They sit down, they lay down, there's nobody, they can play cards if they want at a table, they can sleep if they want, they can do whatever they want. They're literally in a hotel above the sky, and they have the nerve to complain about scheduling, again, for a sport where they show up. Maybe you take batting practice, maybe you don't. Maybe you get 2 balls hit to you a game, maybe you don't. I mean, give me a break.
What is the best benefit of the charter flight that they take?
The best part is not standing online with the TSA agents holding the gloves, scanning your phone or scanning your ticket. Somebody's got to have boarding passes for 4 kids in front of you. People are screaming. Then you get there. You're panicked about the flight, delaying the extra stress. It's tarmac on the plane. Team's ready to go. Let's get up in the sky. It is absolutely that. No security. The bottom line is this. When you fly, the worst part about flying is dealing with people. That's it. When you're not dealing with people, half the stress of flying is out the window.
Maybe all of the stress.
Maybe all of the stress.
That's this date in Mothership history. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all of your car care needs. Guaranteed low prices, excellent customer service at O'Reilly. Better parts, better prices every day. Don't forget, you can submit your question, your Ask the Pros question, by simply tweeting at me, DA on CBS, on I'll read through those coming up here later on in the show. Our toll-free line sponsored by Geico today. Did you know that right now Geico offering an extra 15% credit on car, motorcycle, and RV policies? That's on top of what Geico could already save you. So what are you waiting for? Visit geico.com to learn more. Earlier in the show, we were asking, once again, as we did on Friday, was it Aaron Rodgers or Danica Patrick's fault that they broke up? And we played the Danica Patrick audio when we had her here on the show a couple of months ago, and she was talking about their relationship, and I'd asked her how it is to date a professional athlete, her being a professional driver herself, and she was talking about some of the similarities, but she did not mention that they do anything outside of having high-end conversations and watching TV sometimes. So Mraz claims that maybe Aaron Rodgers is the biggest boredom bozo ever, and that he should have a pool. And so one of our followers, one of our listeners, tweets, doesn't even sound like Rodgers has a pool or a bar in his backyard. Loser. This is from a follower, a listener named Foxy. And quickly, Cap, because he's smarter than most of us, pulled up a picture of Rodgers' backyard in Malibu, and there is a huge pool. It's on the ocean, and there's a waterfront bar. So he's actually got both of those. So when Mraz claimed that Rodgers didn't have a pool, he actually does, and he's got an ocean, and he's got a bar. So I don't know if the boredom bozo fits here either. But also, which one of your drunken friends is Foxy, by the way? I mean, which one of these guys that come and crash Blob's Bar or Bob's Bar every single weekend, which one of these guys is he?
He is a man by the name of Kerrigan, who is actually the best friend of my soon-to-be brother-in-law, who has weaseled his way into Bob's Bar more than enough and drank the place dry. But he's a good DA show listener. He was a DA show listener before he really even knew me, because he knew my sister, before he got invited to Bob's Bar. So I do have to say his lineage to the DA show goes longer than his lineage to me or the bar.
Okay. All right. Then I'll give him a pass here because he also...
But still a drunken bozo, 100% right.
Yeah, because he also tweeted at me, DA, when was the last time you went on a hunt? Maybe hunting down some toilet paper? # bozo. So I don't know why he's coming at me. What did I do to Foxy?
Very unnecessary.
Yeah. It's a good point. You had to have drank with him at a block party, I assume. But yeah, I don't know why he's coming at you with the hunting. Maybe it's just the upstate vibe you're giving. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't hunt, and that's very obvious. I think if you see me or hear me or know anything about me, you're like, yeah, that guy definitely doesn't hunt. Foxy probably still drunk from this weekend at Blob's Bar is my guess. When we come back here on the show, will Freddie Freeman's story scare other baseball players?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's a beautiful morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Wake up, mister.
Starting up a brand new day.
It's such a good vibration. Hot temptation. It's such a
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, what's up, DA? Permission to enter the mothership, brother.
Ever heard a sports talk show like this before? Didn't think so.
What's going on, Dirty?
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
DA, how you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm feeling great.
I'm doing great.
Happy Monday to you, boys and girls. One question only. How do you feel?
Well, I feel good, and I'm doing well.
That's all that really matters, and we come to you live from the Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loan Studios. When you need certainty in the home buying process with a loan that fits your life, Rocket can. Thanks so much for spending your morning with us. Tell your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio. Get your day started with us. Play it around the house and begin your day with the DA Show. Coming up in 20 minutes, can the Celtics win without a full-strength Kemba Walker? As the NBA eyes its return coming up, in just a couple of days, actually. 9 or 10 days before the NBA returns. We had baseball returning over the weekend in exhibition form with teams against other teams instead of just having inter-squad scrimmages. So we're talking about that this morning here on the show. And speaking of Major League Baseball, Freddie Freeman is back with the Atlanta Braves. Freeman, one of the best hitters in the National League. And Freeman came down with COVID-19 back in early July, so about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he says, Friday, July 3rd was a day where things were normal. And then immediately, the next day, he had symptoms of body aches. And this was only about 36 hours after he had tested negative. So they were starting to do the testing process for baseball early July. He had tested negative. And then 36 hours later, he's feeling full body aches. On that Friday, he woke up sweating, and by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he said it hit him like a ton of bricks. He said his fever began to spike and went all the way up to 104.5. Now, that's a pretty amazing fever, 104.5. Freeman admitted he got really scared. He said, I said a prayer that night. I've never been that hot before. My body was really, really hot. So I said, please don't take me. I wasn't ready. It got a little worrisome that night for me. I took some NyQuil, Tylenol, able to get some sleep, but I was scared to go to bed. I was scared if I spiked even higher when I was sleeping, what would happen? That Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he was in bed, bedridden, crazy fever. But by Monday night, his fever broke. So it was about a 3-day intense fever, body aches, bedridden. Then it broke. And for the next couple of days, he was dealing with fatigue, exhaustion, and he was really worried. But yesterday he got word, or 2 days ago, that he had 2 consecutive negatives. And so now he's allowed to rejoin the team, 2 consecutive negatives. And he wants to rejoin the team and play again. Now, this is interesting because if anybody might say, you know what, I went through it, I saw it, it was not fun, it was scary, I'm not playing this year, Freddie Freeman could totally have the reasoning that it's just not for him right now. He's just coming off of this, and he just, doesn't know the after effects. But Freddie Freeman's going to come back. Freeman's experience, though, was so scary that Nick Markakis said, I'm not playing. That Freeman's experience, that after he spoke to him on the phone, was enough to tell Markakis, his teammate, I'm not playing this year. So I think it's an interesting question. Freddie Freeman talking about how scary it was. We've had some guys somewhat on the fence. Mike Trout was one of those guys seemingly on the fence. Will I play? Won't I play? Will Freeman's scary experience scare some Major League Baseball players into not playing? And, of course, I can't crawl into the mind of every Major League Baseball player, but my answer would actually be no. And here's the reason. Freddie Freeman went through it and is still coming back to play. If Freeman, who dealt with the reality of having this and had a fever of 105, if he wants to come back after that, certainly no player wants to get it. Certainly nobody wants to get a fever of 104, 105. Certainly nobody wants to go through 3 to 6 days of headaches and body aches and sweating and nausea and exhaustion. But if the guy that went through it is willing to come back, I think that most of these guys aren't necessarily scared then of contracting it. I don't think they want to, obviously, but they're pushing through to go out there and play. And I would never tell any of these guys what to do, what not to do. If they're fearful of playing, I totally get it. Avery Bradley, other guys, they have family situations. They don't want to get it. I get it. I totally understand. More power to you. I don't blame you. But a guy like Freddie Freeman should really be applauded, that he would go through it and want to battle back to play with his guys, to play on that team, to play on that roster, to collect the paycheck, of course, that's important. But putting your body out there and doing it, it's great. It's at least at the moment, before we've seen anybody come down and have their careers ended or their lives ended by this in the professional sports sphere. And of course, that has happened many, many times over in our country, so it's not something to be taken lightly. But for these guys that are running a risk of getting it and dealing with this and, whatever the repercussions are athletically for them or for their next contract, whatever, for Freddie Freeman to come back from that and want to go out there and play, I have to say, he deserves some credit there. Now, will there be players that are spooked by this? Sure. And you can't blame them for that. Not at all. You cannot blame them for being spooked by it. But I would say at this point, since we're already having these games played against other teams this week, and of course, who knows? 2 weeks from now, maybe a bunch of guys test positive because they're actually playing against other teams, and we'll see what the fallout is there. But you've got guys out there also playing in masks. I mean, Clint Frazier, Didi Gregorius are playing with masks on. So you've got guys well aware of the risk, but playing anyway, and a guy that came down with it very severely playing anyway. I got to say, Mraz, I think that it felt like before games were being played, maybe fear about what's it going to look like. Once guys get into a rhythm, once they arrive at ballparks, probably see safety protocols, play some games, I think most people become really adaptable. And I think these athletes, it's about the game again. And I'm not saying that they don't fear the outside stuff in some way, shape, or form, but I think when you watch guys and their job is competition, their job is athletics, their job is sport, once they're into that rhythm again, it feels to me at least like a lot of the other stuff went away. It was when they weren't playing that all they had to do was they had time to sit around and stew about the safety surrounding everything. And maybe that's what's happening with the NFL right now.
Yeah, and that's an interesting part of this too is oftentimes we lose sight that athletes are regular people like all of us. And I think there are a lot of people who are maybe on that spectrum of we shouldn't be playing sports who are trying to look at it that way and say, look, they're regular people. They shouldn't just be going out there for our entertainment. But I think what I would argue back is these guys want the distraction too. These are guys who have been quarantined at home, scary, learning everything day by day like all of us too. And for them, when they're lifer baseball players or lifer football players and lifer basketball players, there are going to be many of them, if not most of them, that say, I want this distraction. Heck, I'm getting a chance to go work again. This is what I do. This is what I love. I get to go play. They step between the lines, and it's the game again as long as the league is taking care of them with the different health precautions like all these leagues have put forth. So, yeah, and then when you see a story like Freddie Freeman, it's scary. It's obviously scary, but I would point to three things, DA. We have seen so many athletes, and how many times have we done the bogus updates or the Heller updates where this one is tested for positive for coronavirus? We've had so many of these, and it's been very scary. And there have been three players where across the sports world where we heard scary things. Freeman with this fever, which is unbelievable. Von Miller talking about how he had past asthma and this attacked his lungs so bad he was so scared at times that he couldn't breathe. And Rudy Gobert, even recently, still saying there are times where his sense of taste doesn't feel well. But the ironic part about all three of those guys, they're all more than willing now to come back and play. And if those guys dealt with really scary situations to them, and they are willing to still step on that field and be examples that, hey, we dealt with this, but we still want to play sports, who am I or who is anybody to sit back and criticize these guys who want to go out and work and who want to go out and play?
Absolutely right. And that's why I don't think this is the type of thing that scares a lot of players away. There's going to be a handful of players for family situations or personal reasons that don't want to play. But I don't think there's going to be just a bunch of people running from competition, running from playing. And I think what you realize is mentally, when people are faced with adversity, they don't want to change. But once they're forced to change, humans are adaptable. This mask thing. People don't want to do it. Maybe they're being told they shouldn't have to do it. And so that's creating a mental wall from doing it. But once you do it, you just end up doing it. I remember the first times we did it here in New York. I would go out of the house. I would be in the car. I'd be down the driveway and have forgotten the mask. And I'd be like, oh, got to go turn around and get it. Today, I know every time that I leave the house, I go into the drawer, I grab the mask, get ready to go, or I have it in the car. And 4 months ago, going into a grocery store with a mask on was distracting. You just feel like it's annoying. You're like, why am I doing this? It's the only thing you can think about. And today, I went to the grocery store on Sunday, grabbed some dinner for the folks, and we grilled out yesterday. I didn't think twice about having it on in the grocery store. You just adapt to these things. And so I think what we're learning is when you're an athlete and you're worried about the protocol, the safety precautions, totally understandable. You go, okay, I want to make sure everything is safe. And you're thinking about that all the time. What's this going to look like? How is my day different? How is my training different? What is this? But once you get into it, it just becomes your new normal. And I think for a lot of us here in the Northeast that have been forced to do masks, at first it was annoying, and then you just get used to it, and it's just what you do, and it becomes just part of what happens, and you're adaptable. And I think athletes are proving the same thing. Fear, scared, worry up until you do it, and then once you start doing it, I haven't heard a lot of these guys coming out of these games talking about anything but the games, which I think is really refreshing.
They're upbeat. They're happy. I mean, everything I've seen, I've been glued to MLB Network or our local channels here in New York, Yes or SNY. And anytime you have one of these players, even if it's Zoom or anything else, post-game and the reports, everybody seems really excited about playing. And they seem really into it. And they're out there doing their interstart scrimmages or these other scrimmages they've played, and they're excited for a season. And if I'm sensing that from the players and I'm not sensing trembling fear, as a fan, I'm buying into the excitement, and I'm getting excited too because it's making me feel like this is going to be okay because the guys who are paid to entertain us want to entertain us and are feeling great about doing so. And you're right. They've adapted. Circumstances are different for baseball. I mean, you got some of them sitting in the stands. Just the other night, I could tell you during the Yankee game, I believe it was Chad Green forgot his rosin bag. He had to go pick it back up, and he kind of grimaced and laughed, and that's the kind of thing like going back to your house after forgetting the mask. Like, there's all these rules here within sports that are different for them, but they're adapting, they're changing, they're laughing about them, they're embracing the moment, and they're kind of trying to find a positive attitude and realizing, you know, all right, this is the season that's like this. It's a season we'll never forget, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to have fun with it, and it's adapt, it's change, and so far, knock on wood, it's working, and I think it's something as fans it's pretty cool to embrace.
MLS is actually a really good lab rat in this as well because MLS came back July the 8th, and when they first started to try to come back, the same worries about testing, the same worries about having teams together, the same worries about the bubble were all around MLS because they were the first American team sport to try to do this. And remember, two of their teams couldn't play, had to be sent home. Dallas and Nashville had to be sent home. Too many of your guys have tested positive, and they had to delay the start of games for other teams like Vancouver that had a lot of positive tests. And so it felt at that moment, oh, God, are they even going to get this tournament in? Well, we're now 12 days into it, almost 2 weeks. Every team has played at least one game. Some have played multiple games. And now when you see the games on TV, I don't know about you if you're watching it, but
I have
over the weekend, I'm flipping it on, and it's just now normal. We've got MLS games every single day or most days. And they're just playing. They're not really talking about not playing. They're not really talking about the positive tests. No. Now it's just about the games. It's just about the sport itself. People are really adaptable, and I think that the MLS has given us, and NASCAR on the PGA Tour, but MLS most because they're a team sport and guys are up against one another constantly when you're guarding one another, etc. It's going to get done. I mean, guys just end up getting molded, and you end up playing the sport, and it ends up okay, and hopefully it stays okay, but once you get into the rhythm of things, it just ends up being sport again.
DA, I think it was Thursday or Friday, I'm watching the Atlanta United and Cincinnati FC game. I believe it's Cincinnati FC. And at the end, Atlanta was down 2 red cards. They were down 2 men. When their second guy got thrown out for the red card, it became a huge argument on the field. There was a heated moment. There was a tension. And for a good 10 minutes of arguing back and forth, albeit safely, you're watching a pretty cool soccer moment going, wow, Atlanta's against the ropes here. And at no point are you thinking to yourself, oh, wait, this was really hard to pull off. They're hard to get in this moment. They're in a bubble. Once you're watching the sports and the moments and dramatic parts of sports that we are used to, and these players are part of these dramatic moments, and their competition gets caught up, and they think a call is Bush League or anything like that, you actually do get that distraction we've been longing for, which is get sports in front of us, get these competitors who love to compete in front of us, do it as safe as possible, even if we're watching from home and not from the stands. And you're right, the MLS has absolutely worked in that way. Baseball seemingly so far has worked in that way, and I hope this continues the trend of the other sports as they get introduced to us over the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think there's something that we're learning from sports, and that is it's important to be aware and to live smart, but you don't need to live in fear. The fear part is a devastating part of this, and that's unnecessary. Being smart, being practical, being safe, all important things that you should do for yourself and for the well-being of others. And that's what sports is doing. Smart, practical, safe. But they didn't just shut down out of fear, and they've moved forward. And I think that's a pretty good lesson for all of us. When we come back here on the show, basketball is going to come back, but the Celtics might be without one of their best star players at 100%. Can they win without him? DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Good value, big upside.
Sometimes all they have is batches of really fat storks. And sometimes you get what looks like a thin bundle of storks and there's a couple fat ones in there. Just like there's broccoli crowds and broccoli storks, there should be a section of the supermarket for fat asparagus and thin asparagus.
Mraz, are you calling a group of asparagus storks?
What would you call them?
Stalk.
Okay.
Yeah,
Storks.
they don't deliver babies.
All right, whatever.
It's DA on CBS Sports Radio.
Home Depot here with everything that you need to do projects smarter, faster, and easier. The Home Depot is here to help, and they've got many ways to do so. The Home Depot, how doers get more done. The DA Show was available every single day on your smart speakers. So tell your smart speaker to play CBS Sports Radio in the morning. You could wake up with us, have it on around your house as you wash and grill your asparagus storks. Perhaps you make lunch for the kids with some celery storks. Speaking of food, Mraz, you know, last week of the PGP, you had what you would term an oopsies, and I haven't yet figured out what the ramifications of the moment is going to be. We've had some listeners bring up that if you were suspended for belching on a PGP, that by having an oopsies, you should be suspended at least for the same punishment, two shows, 2 games, if you will, 2 episodes.
And I got an oopsie.
My question to you is, that oopsie you declared was because you have shifted to a diet of a juice cleanse, a juice and eggs cleanse. And this morning I saw on camera you eating a sandwich. Now, what was that?
Wow. I am having basically eggs, spinach, tomatoes every morning with a little salsa. I will say there was a leftover end of some Italian bread that was in the house, and my wife is out of the house. She had to work from the office today. She brought Taylor to some childcare today for the first time, so I knew I would not be judged. I swooped in. I wanted the bread so badly. I really haven't had bread much in the last week, and I put my eggs on a little bit of that bread.
How many beers did you have this weekend at Blob's Bar?
I only drank in total 6 beers all weekend this weekend.
Wow.
I really did.
Not bad.
Mainly Saturday. Yesterday I didn't drink at all. Friday I didn't drink at all. It was all Saturday. Saturday I went out to dinner, so I had a couple walking there, had a couple watching the Yankee game after. Yeah, I indulged a little bit on Saturday. And I'm not going to give up drinking. I will not. And I need to find a happy balance. I will say, hey, you want a smart aleck attitude? I am down from a week ago today 7 pounds. I'm back into the 250s. I'm back to playing in the 250s. So there we go.
Well,
and away we go.
That's a quick 7 that you dropped there. Do you think it's just from the juice cleanse?
Well, the first 2 days are mainly the juice cleanse. My wife is doing whatever, one of these diets where you count points or whatever. She's trying to, lose weight now too. So I've just kind of been piggybacking off what she's got going on. She's like tallying points and stuff like that. She's scanning barcodes in the supermarket. So I don't know. She's doing a lot of the cooking. She's telling me, hey, you stick to this. This will be healthy. I'm finding foods that she's making that I like that apparently are healthy. I don't know how she's doing it. She found, DA, you would not believe this one. Just not to get too off track. I am a huge proponent of sour cream.
To me, sour cream belongs on every table and every restaurant if you find it chilled. I can put it on anything. She has found a sour cream that is apparently healthy using non-fat, plain Greek yogurt. And I dipped a little something in this sour cream. She made some kind of dipping in it. I couldn't tell the difference. So if you find me alternatives with the Greek and the yogurt for my sour cream, and there's other ways to do that with food, I can lose pounds. I can lose pounds.
What kind of snacks did you have at Blob's Bar over the weekend?
Well, yesterday, Bob's Bar does a Sunday brunch. They've been big with the Sunday brunch crowd.
Bob's Bar, your dad's bar in the yard, quote, they do a Sunday brunch.
They do a Sunday brunch, started this year. They added, with all the money they made last year, they added one of these flat griddles. So, he's doing everything. But that was, again, it was one of those foods. I did the tomatoes, the spinach with the eggs. That was fun, and people were drinking the mimosas. I didn't indulge too much in any of the alcohol there like people were doing. But, yeah, they do the big Sunday brunch over there. As far as food, Saturday I went out to dinner, so I didn't really eat much at Blob's Bar. And Friday was just a chicken and broccoli medley, very plain, very bland, wasn't tasty at all, but that's what I did. So, yes. There was some healthy eating this weekend, Damon. 7 pounds, and away we go.
Wow.
I'm playing in the 250s again. I'm playing in the 250s.
That's a quick
My
7.
hope is by Labor Day to get to the 240s. I got 6 weeks to lose another 8 pounds.
Okay, well, you lost 7 in a week. You should be able to do another 8.
But it's tough, man. You know what they crush you with? The dessert. You can't do the desserts. So if you want like a nice ice cream cone, that could set you back 3 days. How am I? I'm supposed to not track down Mr. Softy anymore? That'd be like a center fielder not saying, you know what, I'm not going to catch this one. Let it drop in the alley. How do you not stop Mr. Softy when he comes down the block?
For those that are uninitiated or unaware, Bob's Bar is Mraz's dad. Bob the Deli Man has a bar in his yard. Mraz wanted to make an annex of this in his own yard, so built a bar in his own yard during quarantine, which we have nicknamed Blob's Bar.
No Sunday brunch at Blob's Bar. That's just a Bob's Bar thing.
Quote, they do Sunday brunch at Bob's Bar is incredible.
They do. And Blue Point Pinstripe Pilsner, by the way, is promoting. They got the big Bob's Bar Thursday night opener bash. So Bob's Bar should be buzzing for the Yankees Nats on Thursday night. I had to reserve a table already. It's unbelievable because you're trying to do the social distancing. Only 2 chairs and then 2 chairs. So it's very safe the way they've done Bob's Bar. So the Yankee opener, and Governor Cuomo says no drinks without food. So there's going to be plenty of chips and salsa there you need to order. And then you could order your beers and enjoy the Yankees and Nats on Thursday. So it should be a good night at Bob's Bar.
Okay, so Bob's Bar, again, your dad's bar in the yard, is abiding by Governor Cuomo's, you need to sell food if you're going to buy beer at this, at this
exactly.
yard bar.
Look, if you want to have 18 Modelo's, that's fine, but you better have a hot dog off the grill. I don't make the rules.
The NBA is returning in about 10 days from now, and will Kemba Walker be back at 100% for the Celtics? Kemba, before his injury, he had a left knee injury right around the All-Star game. He was phenomenal. I mean, he really had turned everything around for the Celtics after the defeated and dysfunctional Kyrie Irving era. He had been brought in as a free agent, and Kemba was a competitor. Kemba was a gamer. Kemba was a scorer. Kemba was a great teammate. Kemba was everything that they could have hoped. And Kemba Walker has forever been an amazing competitor and rose to the challenge, whether it was at school at UConn in March Madness or even as a player for the Charlotte Hornets in the NBA. But the Hornets have been so bad, people have overlooked how good Kemba has been. So he has been a phenomenal fit with the Celtics. But he injured that left knee, and he tried to come back before the season was shut down, and he wasn't good. He wasn't as effective. And this looked like this could really sink the Celtics' chances because he was not going to be back to 100% throughout the entire postseason. Here's the thing. He's still not back to 100%. He still says there's discomfort in his knee. Now, we're already into late July. We are a month removed. We're a month later than when the NBA Finals would have been. The best thing that could have happened to the Celtics is the shutdown for Kemba Walker's sake. I mean, we are well past when the last game he would have been playing, and he's still banged up. He's going to be on a minutes limit when they come back in the seeding games, the 8 regular season games to finish off things up until the postseason begins. I think there's got to be some real concern in Boston that Kemba's not going to be right. Now, he's going to be on a limit. They're hoping that he'll be 100% by the time the playoffs start. He hopes he's back to 100%, but man, you injure your knee back in February. You're off it. You're not playing games. It's just light individual workouts, and there's still discomfort. That's a real worry. That happened in February. It's July. That's 5 months later, and you're still feeling it, and now you're ramping up to play games, and then it's going to be the intensity of the playoffs. That's pretty significant. The Celtics have to hope that whatever he has rust-wise, discomfort-wise, can shake off in these 8 games. But the fact that the Celtics have to worry about Kemba, and Kemba's got to worry about that knee, and you know he'll play through anything. He's always been a guy that's been out there. He is not a diva. He's not going to take himself out of games unless he can't play. This is a real concern. And the Celtics can't go where they want to go unless Kemba Walker's 100%. Simple as that. The Bucks are too good. The Bucks are too good, and the Raptors are largely healthy. And if the Celtics want to get through the East, then they need a healthy Kemba Walker, 100% Kemba Walker. They don't have that right now. So that's a real worry about how good Kemba can be, what their potential is going to be. He's still feeling discomfort. They're going to limit him in the regular season. And we'll see how he plays, how he fares in these 8 regular season games. But then even if he gets through those, it's the start of the playoffs when the intensity obviously gets ratcheted up. That's a real worry for the Celtics going into the Eastern Conference playoffs. Standing by is Brad Heller, who has our final series of headlines this morning, the dessert coordinator. Brad Heller, good morning.
Good morning, DA. Chiefs and Texans rookies report for training camp today. All of the rookies report tomorrow, and the Players Association still not thrilled with what's going on with the health and safety protocols. Several big names yesterday, from Patrick Mahomes to Drew Brees to Russell Wilson, tweeted those concerns, all with the same hashtag, we want to play. Here's what Brees tweeted. If the NFL doesn't do their part to keep players healthy, there's no football in 2020. It's that simple. Get it done. NFL Network says the union still has to approve each team's COVID-19 response plans before more than 20 players can be allowed in the facility at a time. Also new from NFL Network this morning, the league is proposing 1 preseason game instead of 2, but the players maintain they don't want any preseason games. The Toronto Blue Jays are homeless right now after Canada barred the team from playing its home games in Toronto. Here's manager Charlie Montoyo.
I'm grateful that we were here for these 2 weeks because, as you can see, other teams are having problems. But so I'm glad that going into the season we're healthy. So that's just the best scenario for us going into a season. Where we're going to play, hopefully we'll find out soon.
Yeah.
So
hopefully.
basically, the Blue Jays are couch surfing like Shep. They don't have a house. They don't have a home. The Blue Jays are carrying around their belongings in a hefty bag.
Somebody check Dante Bichette Jr. for bed bugs.
They're ready to backpack throughout the U.S. trying to find a home. First home game for the Jays is July 29th. Buffalo's been under consideration, their spring training facility in Florida, but those have some issues. Obviously, the COVID spike in Florida. Buffalo, it's a AAA facility. The players want major league facilities. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says PNC Park is a possibility. Not much overlap between the Pirates and the Blue Jays. Only 7 games overlap, so that is a possibility. Exhibition baseball last night, Cody Bellinger, grand slam. He had 5 RBIs. The Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks. Aaron Judge hit 2 of the Yankees' 5 home runs as they shut out the Mets at Yankee Stadium. In golf, Jon Rahm takes over the #1 ranking in the world. He shot a 3 over 75. He had an 8-shot lead at one point. It was cut down to 3. He ended up beating Ryan Palmer by 3 shots to win at the Memorial. DA?
All right. Thank you, Brad. Who had a bigger weekend? Was it producer Shep insisting that his girlfriend was a real live person, not an imaginary girlfriend? Or was it Schwartz tweeting at the Yankees or the Mets that he is willing to sign up for foul ball duty? It leads to our poll question today. How should Major League Baseball handle foul ball? Should they let a few fans come in to gather them up, or should adults have a better hobby? That's our poll question, and when we come back, we'll let you know how the advanced analytics looks at this from our poll question, the results, and your epic fail. DA, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
no one knows what analytics is. They think it's like a bunch of nerds doing math, which I don't know, maybe that's what it is.
It's time now for the Mothership's Advanced Analytics.
So over the weekend, there's been some people on Twitter discussing what to do with all of the foul balls and home run balls being hit at Major League Baseball stadiums. And of course, our very own Peter Schwartz tweeted at both the Mets and Yankees that I would sign up to do it for free. Just let me touch those balls. So on Twitter and Facebook, we asked you, what should Major League Baseball do? Should they hire fans to grab foul balls? And the majority said no. On Twitter, 60% said adults need a better hobby. On Facebook, 61% said adults need a better hobby. So most of you, not all of you, but a 60-40 split on both, said you should just do it yourself. Have equipment managers or people on the team go do it, and don't bother hiring people like Schwartz, although that might be an anti-Schwartz vote more than an actual philosophical vote there. The A's will be filled with cardboard cutout fans, but if a cutout gets hit by a baseball in the foul ball zone during the game, the A's will send that fan the ball. If you want to have your cutout in the foul ball zone, though, it's going to cost you $129, and seats right now are sold out. Proceeds do go to benefit the A's Community Fund. That is your advanced analytics. So what do we think about that? You know, the Mets have reached out to me and asked me, since I'm a partial season ticket holder, if I would like to have my face in a cutout, and I guess I'll do it, although I've seen them now execute this, and it looks by and large pretty corny and cartoonish, so I don't know if I really want to be part of that.
Why don't you just send them the cardboard cutout that's behind you? And just
How
put
great would that be if they actually used, the caricature? I'd love that, but I think you got to send an actual picture of you, which I'm kind of bummed about.
Yeah. Some of them look stupid. They're screaming this, that, the other thing. But I found the real ironic part, let's not take a shot, the Mets couldn't even sell out behind the plate with cardboard
I
cutouts.
know!
They were way more sold out down the lines. Behind the plate, there's like 8 missing seats. It's like, how realistic are we making this?
What are we doing? Just, if you're going to sell cardboard cutouts, which is just so crazy anyway, just jam them all into the sight lines. Like, do we have the upper tank in section 313 sold out, but we got empty seats behind home plate? Just take them, bring them down, and put them behind the plate.
Now, let me ask, and maybe you would know this better. Are these teams, like the Mets specifically, are they selling like price value? Like, can you spend more to be behind the plate, even though you're not actually going to be there? Because if it's just first come, first serve, just pile them behind the plate and then mix them up every game. That's all.
Exactly. And why even bother mixing them up? I mean, I don't care who sits where. I don't care if my face is in the last row of the upper deck. I really don't care. I mean, this should not be a thing. It should just be make it kind of look like there's people in attendance. I don't care who sits where. Did I see this correctly? Did Evan Roberts from Joe and Evan on WFAN in New York, does he have a cutout behind the plate?
I don't know if it's behind the plate. If he tweeted that, I didn't notice him behind the plate, but I know he did one. He absolutely did one. I don't know if it has him with an iPad watching a net game at the same time, but yes, I know he did one.
I mean, I don't know. Paying to be out there, if the foul ball hits you, you get the foul ball. I mean, that just leads to a bunch of Peter Schwartzes trying to buy all of those seats.
Yeah, now the only thing, I know the Mets ones are going to COVID relief, so I think that's a big, that's a good job by them. But yeah, if the Mets offered to non-season ticket holders, hey, it's $120 and we'll put you down the lines on first base and third base, and if a ball drills you in the face, we'll send you the foul ball. There's not a doubt in my mind that Schwartz is doing it. Not a doubt. Of course he would.
But he'd have to pay for it. Would he be willing to pay for it?
If it means he thinks he's put in a spot where he's done the analytics that Cap would do, and the math says he'll get 5 balls that have a chance to hit him all year, then yes, I think he would. Ironically, not just going to whatever your sporting goods store is, spending $2 per foul ball and just saying it hit your cardboard cutout, because that is what he does.
Our toll-free line is sponsored by Geico. Did you know that right now Geico is offering an extra 15% credit, car, motorcycle, and RV policies on top of what Geico could already save you? So what are you waiting for? Visit Geico.com to learn more. Our Ask the Pros question of the day brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Think O'Reilly for all of your car care needs. Guaranteed low prices, excellent customer service at O'Reilly. Better parts, better prices every day. John is in Minnesota and says, DA, what'd you think about the piped-in crowd noise this weekend? Did you think that it worked for baseball? Yeah, by and large, I did. By and large, I did. You know, I think that what we've learned from soccer and now baseball is that just don't overdo it. As long as you just do it in a minimal way, it sounds good. It sounds fine. I think we were all worried that they were going to try to make exhibition games or regular season game sound like it was the Game 7 of the World Series. And that's what we don't want here. That's what we don't want. But overall, I thought that ultimately it worked. And it will work, and I think they found smart ways to do it. What I'm also reading, Andrew Marchand, who covers sports media for the New York Post, is reporting that networks have created the digital fan and that it looks really good. And I think that's even better than these cardboard cutouts. I think if the fans in the stands look like it's Madden or look like it's MLB The Show or NBA Live or whatever that is, great. I think that's an even better way to do it. Take a crowd from last year's games and just superimpose it. And that, to me, feels even better. So I think we're on our way to doing this. So let's get to your epic fail of the morning. What are we going with this morning as our epic fail? What conversation was this that spurred our epic fail?
DA, this was, if you have survived pandemic not getting divorced, you're a hero.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, really.
This all stems from Danica and Rogers. Yes.
Who's going to survive? Here is your epic fail.
Even the DA show is not perfect. We know. Shocking. Here's the epic fail.
My cousin already broke off his engagement during pandemic. No wedding coming up for Zach. No wedding. It's off. We're never going to see Nicole again. Boom. Finished during pandemic. Couldn't stand each other. That's it. This is what it's done. If you walk out of here still married, and I think so far me and you are going to make it. We can see the finish line. We might make it.
Depends on how long pandemic goes.
He's putting his face down. Is Mraz going to survive?
I think we're heroes. I really do. I think we're heroes.
Really, when you think about this, if you're a guy or a gal and you're going to work, there's a commute in there, there's games in there, there's sports in there, there's school to take the kids. There's a weekend here, weekend there where you're focusing on cutting the lawn or cleaning the pool or doing this or fixing the car or doing something. You can distract yourself from the things that really make you miserable. But in pandemic, there's nothing. You got nothing but silence.
And I got an oopsie.
You got nothing but staring at all the things that you hate right in the face every single day. Right. You can't escape it. And so it's leading to a lot of people breaking up.
You couldn't even walk around a store. You couldn't just say, I'm grabbing a beer with my friend just to decompress. Yeah. It was you and your significant other, and you were locked down, and you better find something to talk about, something to entertain each other with, and everything is going to annoy the living you-know-what out of you.
I feel so bad.
That is what pandemic was.
Pre-pandemic, you know what? You're frustrated. You want to blow off some steam. You came back from work. The kids are going crazy. You just don't want to be there. I'm going to the bar to watch the game. You can't do either one of those right now. Oh, it's brutal.
Carmen Electric, my own.
I hit week 6, and I would wake up in the morning, and my initial reaction wouldn't be love you. It would be, ugh. So I'm sure how many men would have the same reaction.
Epic fail, you loser.
That is why you fail.
Epic fail.
It's a scary time right now. You are faced at home with all of your deepest, darkest fears. You cannot escape. You cannot escape your family. You have to stare your loved one, your significant other in the face every single day for hours on end, and you're stuck at home with the kids. There is nothing that you could escape to do even. All right, I'm going out. Where are you going to go? No, I guess I'm going to stay home. You got me. I'm going out. No, you're not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that either. So this weekend was a big Bob's Bar, Blob's Bar hit. But what you're telling me is that once baseball kicks up, there's going to be game watching at Bob's Bar and Blob's Bar, baseball game watching every single night then.
Yes, that appears to be the case. So, and it looks like there's a lot of, because when you have franchisee deals, there's a lot of bidding rights. You don't want to lose competition. So it looks like Bob's Bar won the bidding rights, run the Blue Point Pinstripe Pilsner special, have that on Thursday night. Then there's some talk of maybe Blob's Bar getting a lot of the daytime NHL that will come this way. Okay. I mean, because they, obviously the NHL package is over at Blob's Bar. So Bob's Bar and Blob's Bar for, all business going into the same equity. There are a lot of, sports. They've been, both these establishments dying for sports, DA, dying for them.
Yeah.
And now, now that sports are back there, they want to make sure they have the rights to the viewing parties and stuff. So there's a lot going on here. And obviously, Blob's Bar, it's an upstart. It doesn't have the brunch specials that really kept the pandemic pumping. A lot of places did to go and carry out. Bob's Bar with the brunches on Sundays instead of the late night drinking crowds really found a way to keep the business intact. So, now with them getting Yankees opening night, you wonder, can Blob's Bar survive? We'll see. There's a lot to worry about here.
This week for Mothership at the Movies, Little Giants, starring Ed O'Neill and Rick Moranis as head coaches of Little League football teams, Pee Wee football teams. So an absolute classic, sports film classic. This week's Mothership at the Movies, Little Giants. You can find that and watch that with us. We'll review that on Wednesday. Tomorrow, we've got Trash Tuesday, but also, this is really cool, the athletic director of St. Thomas. This is the Minnesota D3 powerhouse football team that hasn't lost in forever, that was basically kicked out of their conference because they were too good. They were mauling everybody. And they said, okay, we're not only going to leave the conference, we're going to leave this division. St. Thomas is going from D3 football to D1 overnight. They're going into the Summit League in D1. So we're going to have their AD on tomorrow. It is one of the craziest stories in college football in many years. Imagine having a school go from D3 to D1 overnight. So we'll talk to their AD tomorrow here on the show. Thanks to Sean Mraz, executive producer of The DA Show. Thanks to Pete the Body Bellotti on the Wheels of Steel and audio director. Thanks to Andrew Kaplan, your wizard of Watch DA. Watch the simulcast at watchda.com. Brad Heller on your headlines today and this week as Bogus is out. And Connor Green as your associate producer today. Be good and be good to one another. I'm DA. We'll see you tomorrow. The Mothership disconnects.
You're in a 5-minute break.